Well, I logged off and I logged back on again. Now it says, please wait for the host to start this meeting. So it's not saying that you have another meeting going anymore.
Yes, yes, and I'm waiting for this to convert.
Okay.
The second meeting has to convert over so it has its recording.
Okay.
So it just should be in like another minute. Hello.
Hi.
Here's Polly.
Surprised you weren't here early. This is your favorite time of year.
Oh,
Hello.
I like this right along with,
22 years of this, you could be right
next
into
to
it.
broccoli and hemorrhoids.
I would have said Brussels sprouts, but okay.
Not again, Brussels sprouts?
Brussels sprouts.
You're just eating cabbages.
I just got out of the shower, holy cow, time flies.
All right, we've got the Zoom meeting going, we've got the town hall stream going, everything seems to have separated at this point.
Okay, you good to go over there, Catherine?
Yes, Polly. Uh-oh.
I muted myself.
Thank you.
So hopefully the microphone will pick it up still.
Yes, you sound good.
Okay. All right, so tonight we are, this is a 2022 budget workshop meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council. Today is Tuesday, October 26th. We are meeting in council chambers as well as via Zoom and town hall streaming video. We're going to open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence and flag behind us. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, next item is set rules for the workshop. General council rules should apply. I think because we do have a workshop though, it would be whether or not we're accepting input from the public. In past workshops, it was council discussions only, unless a counselor invited someone from the public that had relevant information, but it's designed to be a way for the counselors to discuss openly. But we can set our rules for what we want it to be tonight, so looking for input on that.
Are we going to just, once we get through a budget, just vote on it, each one, like we would in a normal council meeting? Council Nichols, Councilor, like Council Hall, like that?
Well, we don't have any counselors joining us by Zoom tonight, so
Okay.
I think because we don't have a remote participant, we can just do a consensus vote.
Okay,
Unless there were a nay, and then we would do a roll call.
okay, thank you.
A nay or an abstention, we would do a roll call for that.
Okay, thank you.
So it'll be similar to the way that we've done the past ones.
Okay.
And so we're previewing the budget this evening. Final approval will actually be at the budget public hearing in December is when we finally accept the budget. So this is like our preview of the budget items.
So tonight we don't really vote on anything, do we?
It's more, because this isn't an actual, regular meeting of the council, I don't believe we actually take a vote. We can have like an understanding of consensus.
You do a consensus on all the items.
Right.
As each budget workshop takes place, you have a consensus, but there's not an actual vote until the end.
Right.
So they are kind of like votes, but they don't hold weight as a formal vote under a council
Formal
session.
vote at the end.
Right.
Right.
So this is the opportunity to kind of look at the items in there and say, I have more questions about this, I want more information about that. Kind of like the first look at it as a full budget, and then, based on that, then we, look at it a little closer, get more information, make final decisions in December. Okay, does anybody have any other input as far as the rules of the workshop, anything you'd like to do differently? Okay, let's get started with the discussion. First off, we'll go to general discussion. Catherine, this would be your purview, reviewing the overall expenditure budget, the revenue budget, and the capital budget.
All right, very good. I'll be going through your budget workbook with you, which will be helpful for new members that have not been formally through a budget process before. It'll be helpful for those that are watching on town hall streams that may be on the council next year or just want to understand. And so on the town website, we do have a copy of the entire 2022 municipal and capital budget. We also have a copy of the letter of explanation. The entire budget book is not on the town website as of yet due to a severe networking PDF scanning issue that's going on upstairs with all photocopiers down. So this has been an interesting day. We did go out and get copied for the public. We've had 2 people come and pick up packets, and we have 12 other packets upstairs or down here right now. And we'll have more for anyone who wants a complete copy of the budget book. You can pick that up at the town office. And once the scanning issues are all taken care of by the computer company that's been working with the staff for the last couple of days, or actually since Friday on one item and then a couple of days here, everything will be on the website as usual. Thank you. So in the town council's budget book, we'll go through the tabs very quickly. Tab 1 is the budget calendar. And councilors have all seen this before, and I'll draw your attention to the workshops just so we make sure that everybody remembers to go to as many as possible. So we have one workshop this evening, which is October 26th. And this evening we'll be going over the council and administrative budgets and some of the budgets that don't change much, like we have Holly on for the library budget, we've got general assistance and airport added on to the administrative ones. Usually we start out and go through quite a few of the smaller ones. We then have on November 3rd a workshop after the regular town council meeting, and because it is after a regular meeting, we try to keep the meetings as short as possible and then address items on a workshop after a town council meeting, which are also regular budgets. They might be bigger ones, but they would be regular type budgets. We go on to a town council workshop, which will be entirely a workshop on November 9th, and that will have some of the larger budgets and the more complicated ones. And we've got, for that evening, we've got fire department, communications, police, animal control, water, and sewer. So those are the larger and more complicated ones. On November 16th, we'll have a workshop after the regular town council meeting that will deal with capital expenditures, debt service, and additionals. And those will be very interesting, and that will be detailed. This evening we'll talk a little bit about the capital so we can get some further direction on what you would like beyond what has been placed in the budget book so far to get ready for the 11th, 16th, and going up to that date. We then continue on and do have an additional budget workshop. We haven't used it in the last 2 or 3 years. You might need to use it this year. That's scheduled for December 7th. And then we head toward the public hearing that is scheduled on December 21st. So that is the public hearing on the annual budget, capital budget. We'd like to conclude everything at that public hearing and have a motion to approve, amend, or make whatever changes people would like, and then conclude this in the calendar year. So that's the overall budget calendar. It started out very early in the year. We made some change, the council made some changes to it. But basically, we had the council budget calendar on the regular meeting calendar way back during the summer, so that the council could see what the meetings were. We put the finance committee meetings on too, and the finance committee's been discussing various items. So going on to the different tabs, under tab 2 is a letter of explanation. We'll be going through that and skimming it. That gives an overall review of the entire budget, the capital. Tab 3 is the proposed budget details, so this goes into all of the detail. The tab 4 and 5 come from the TRIO package, so that people can look at what the last year's budget was, or what the current budget is now, the 2021, and then we'd be calling next year's the 2022. So you can look at what the last year's budget was, and then versus the new one that we're looking at. Some people like to use that, others like to use tab 3 for the entire process. But you've got under tab 4 and 5 an expense and a revenue budget that you can go through in detail. Under tab 6 is the municipal capital budget, capital improvement plan. Also has water and sewer. There are 2 Excel spreadsheets there where we'll go over those and see how much more detail that you would like. There's so many capital projects that I'd like to get a definition of exactly where you want to go. If you want to focus on just the roads, the sewer and water, other infrastructure, and then we'll put together more. Tab 7, we will not be going through. It's the old municipal water and sewer capital plan. So you've got all of the capital plans from 2003 up. So you've got all the history of what has been reviewed and approved and projects that have taken place. Tab 8 is just background information for the expenses to date and the revenues to date. Tab 9 is always passed out at the first meeting in November. That will be all of the achievements and accomplishments. You've been getting those somewhat during the year also. Tab 10 has additional requests, which will be dealt with in the middle of November. These are items that are beyond what are in the regular budget. So they're new items, and so they get to be added or approved as additional. Some will not be approved, but there's a little bit over $1 million this year, so there's quite a bit. So for many years, the town's part of the overall budget would mean in the town departments, SAD 53 in Somerset County, for many, many years didn't impact the tax rate very much, and that's because the town had 28% of its budget was personal property, which is massive for the town. But about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, the personal property laws were changed so that many items are phased out each year. So the town has been losing value. We've been picking up some through real estate, but not always. But we used to have a massive amount of personal property. It's subsidized your budgets, but when the state law changed by the legislature so that a lot of business personal property wasn't taxed, we would lose the value. Now we would get a partial payment, either 50 or 60% of the funds that were calculated by the state as the value back. That was called the Betty and the Better, and some of that's being phased out too. So we were very fortunate for decades to have all of that personal property taxed for the town. And of course this was to change, or the legislature to help the businesses so they weren't taxed so much. So in 2020, the town's portion of the budget, including the TIF districts and the overlay of the taxpayer dollars, was 36.65%. The SAD 53 takes up 53.7% of the taxes, and Somerset County 9.65%. For 2021, that changed a little bit, in which the town picked up a little bit of the value, going to 38.3% of the taxpayer dollar. SAD 53 was 52.7%, and Somerset County usually is about the same. They were at 9%. So that gives you a little bit of background regarding the percentages of the tax dollar. A mill is still around $210,000. but it will be based upon the final valuation that comes out for the 2022 budget next year as of April 1st. So the value as of April 1st, 2022 will be what will determine what a mill is. Right now, we can just use the value that it is now for 2021, which is around 210,000. So going into the letter of explanation, we'll quickly go down through that. So under tab 2, obviously you can read it all, and some of you already have looked at it, and some of you will read it. But basically going through the municipal budget, the proposed capital budget, and the capital improvement plan during a worldwide pandemic with all of the changes in the prices has been very interesting the last couple of years, and it's certainly a challenge this year. As we found out, we're very fortunate here that we did have business growth, definitely. Central Maine has a slow but steadily increasing economic recovery, which is very good. We are finding increased pricing with large price increases from vendors. It seems like everything is going up. We have multiple requests to the town to provide additional services to assist with infrastructure. We have multiple requests to the town to provide a lot of additional items, and that's because people, really don't have a lot of money anymore. Businesses don't either. So people are looking to the town, the state, and the federal government to help out with different services beyond what we have now. We have the effect of the state law changes with the homestead exemption. That started in 2017, and we pick up more and more homestead exemptions each year, in which more value is taken out of the taxpayer dollars, and then we get a percentage, usually around 50% of that back from the state in what's called a homestead payment. And as I noted, we have the phasing out of the personal property, because the town used to have a tax base of 28% personal property, which was one of the largest in the state, along with the different companies that had the mills and everything. They would have higher percentages or the same. So the one item that's been very fortunate for us this last year is that the revenue sharing went up. So revenue sharing went down about 6 years ago because the economy had gone down, and so the percentage had been cut, and so our revenue sharing was less than half of what we used to have. Now revenue sharing was voted through by the legislature and the governor at 4.5%. So this has been the item that has really helped out the town quite a bit, and so that's able to help the revenues, and that we're up to 4.5%. An item that's also helped with the schools is that for the first time, the amount of money that's listed under the state statutes for the percentage of the educational aid that will be provided, 55% of the cost is being provided to the schools, which resulted in our assessment being decreased from what the budget had been voted through by SAD 53 and the voters. Once they found out that they were going to have additional money, they went in and used the additional money and lowered the assessment to the towns as much as they could. So that was really good. So that helped out with taxes. So this is a difficult period to put together a budget, but we are fortunate with the state revenue sharing, with the educational aid, and then we have the federal funding package for the rescue plan that's coming through. So anything that we can do to utilize those monies to help reduce the taxes for the taxpayers and then the ratepayers for water and sewer projects would be greatly appreciated and work out quite well. So we are all registered on our account. We have done a small withdrawal reimbursement for the air filter machines. And so as more projects are approved and finalized, we'll be going in and using the rescue monies. One item that would be very important for the town is to continue to watch for all the ARPA funding that will become available. There'll be more. Already the library has picked up on some monies that are available for different programs. The town has picked up for monies that are available for the Main Street project and for the sewer project, so that almost half of our sewer loan that we would get from Main Street is going to be paid for as a grant, so that we will not be paying it back. So that is absolutely wonderful. There'll be more monies that come along, so we have to be very careful to watch for those and bring the projects in immediately, get approval if we want to go forward with them, and then apply. We have a massive amount of grants right now. I suspect that we'll have more because more monies are coming through. And it's somewhat amazing that so much money is coming through, and astonishing as to how we're all going to pay for it. But it's out there, so the town needs to go for it, for projects that are reasonable, that we should be applying for grants for, that will help the citizens. And so moving on to the total of the municipal budget, with all of the items that have been put through the Finance Committee's review of some of the larger budgets, we have a municipal budget that reflects an increase of $357,167. That's on page 3 in bold print in the expenses. And so that is $294,667 in operational and $62,500 in capital budget. I don't usually add so much to the capital budget, but there were a lot of items that went to the Finance Committee, and the ones that they approved I put into the capital budget. And so it is a reasonable capital budget for sure, and items that were absolutely necessary. There are some other additionals that are at the end of the budget that are not in the actual budget figures. We did bring forward the full-time building inspector, code enforcement officer. We did bring forward a counter clerk. There are a whole variety of other requests that are in the additionals also, some approved by the Finance Committee, some not as recommendations, and of course it's up to the council as to how you proceed. So basically, we had a very frugal budget for many, many years, and then about 4 years ago, we just simply could not have all the cuts anymore because everything was being raised around us and items needed to be taken care of. So the council took the budget goals off and just indicated that, you know, anything that people needed to apply for, that they needed for their jobs or their departments, needed to be put in the budget, and then the council would make the decision on what to do with that. So that was fine. So with this approach, basically we have a 6.7% increase in the 2022 budget over the 2021 budget overall. And then when we look at the municipal operations and the capital budget, the increase is 8.4%. When we look at just the municipal budget, it's 7.1%. So based upon whether we add in the capital allocations or add in the water sewer, it gives you a different percentage, it gives you a different amount of what the total is. And we'll go to the budget and you'll see those figures. So basically, we are a service center, so we have a lot of additional costs and damage to our roads from all the traffic and damage to the sidewalks and more people here in town, so you want to provide more services to take care of them. And our budget is no longer the lowest in the state of Maine for a town of our size because of the increases the last few years.
Catherine, could you just give a couple details what you mean by number 3 there? The additional services, what are you referencing?
Yes, so the town of Pittsfield, because we, you know, some towns that didn't have as much activity as we have, you know, would have maybe more part-time positions. They would do less maintenance to their roads. They would have less solid waste pickup, less recycling being done. But we have all these people coming in to do work in town. You have all of these larger businesses, so you would provide additional services. You'd have more activity definitely in the town office because we are a service center. So as a service center, for many years we got the state revenue sharing, and that worked out good until about 10 years ago when that got cut. But now it's back, so providing those additional services should get picked up and paid for by the state revenue sharing now, like it used to be before the budgets got cut at the state level.
Okay, maybe I didn't ask it correctly. Can you list what the additional services are? I guess I didn't understand that from your answer. So you're saying here that we have a budget that's X amount based on these items. Pittsfield provides additional services beyond most towns. So what are we providing as additional services as compared to another town?
Okay, most towns don't have a recycling department or budget set up. They'll just
Okay.
have things hauled away, that would be one. Most towns don't have sidewalks, but we have those because people come in town to walk. We have people that walk around. You have people that go to the businesses that work there that walk around town. So you would have sidewalks. You have additional police patrol beyond what a lot of towns would have. More rural towns would have the county or just partial police departments. If you study the towns across the state, you'll see the towns that are set up like Pittsfield would have additional services. You know, more solid waste pickup, more people going to the solid waste facilities, so we offer more services there.
All right.
And because of that, we offer regional services too, because you want to try to get commodities so that you can get a better price for items. So items such as that. You have more activity in the town office, for sure. I can make a list of additional items if you'd like.
No, that won't be necessary, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so going on to.
So without, Kevin, without the additionals, the percentage increase would be the 6.7 plus the 8.4?
Well, it'll be easier when we get to the budget. I'll just point it out on the front of the budget sheet under number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll make it much easier. I put in the different percentages. Right now, the additional items, the extra items, like adding in different positions or adding in different large amounts, those are not in the budget. The additionals aren't added in. If they get added in, then it gets confusing as to what is actually in the budget, and then the next year they're in there, so the percentages can increase again. So if you have an additional, it gets put out separate, gets added in, and then it gets taken care of and then gets taken out as just a one-time additional item. So it doesn't affect the bottom line. That's why they're called additionals. So right now, we've got the regular operational budget, a capital budget, water and sewer, and that gives you different totals of increases and different percentages. And so I'll zip over in a minute to tab 3 and go over those. So you can read through the rest of the town manager's report on the different revenues and expenses. It talks about what we use for percentages for different items for budgeting. It talks about the revenues and how they're coming out in terms of trends. On page 7, if we were to have to try to raise extra revenues, there's some suggestions there on cemetery, using more of the cemetery investment funds, doing some cutting of town properties, using up some of the reserve allocations, using more of the unappropriated surplus. And the unappropriated surplus are the additional monies that the town has in like a reserve account. We're required under the GASB general budgeting and auditing standards to have enough funds to cover 3 months worth of bills that we would have, plus assessments that we would pay, like SAD 53. So basically, you're supposed to have enough money to cover 3 months of your bills, which would be a little bit over $1 million, which we have. We got pretty low there once, but now we're back up to where we should be. We dipped down one year, but got back up, so that was good during the difficult times. And then a variety of alternative revenue sources that we could look at. And then if you go on to page 8, you'll see what the departments were given for budget goals. And page 9 has what we use for personnel costs, and basically we used, because we need to compete with other towns, we can't slip down here, we put in a 3.5% cost of living increase for all departments except we did have some staff that were way down around minimum wage, and with minimum wage going up, I put them in at 5% to get them up above the minimum wage increase as much as possible. The capital requests, everything was put in there that people had requested that the finance committee had approved, and we'll talk a little bit more about the capital improvement budget and how much you really want to have in there. And then at the bottom of page 9, it talks about the budget that remained the same as last year. There actually were a few, so that was really good. We had some budgets that had slight decreases under 1,500, so there were quite a few of those. And then page 10 talks about different percentages that we use, what we use for health insurance, which was a 5% increase. The unemployment is a 3% of the first 12,000 for each full-time and part-time position. So I used the percentages that they had for the last unemployment increase that took place. And unemployment now, for many years, we paid hardly anything, but there's unemployment all across the state, so our unemployment costs increased just like everybody's else. Workers' comp increased quite a bit, so I put that percentage in. That should start going down again. We had many, many good years, but all you need is a couple of accidents, and then you have a large increase. Electricity, I went through all of the accounts and adjusted those to make sure that everything would be covered as best as possible, the telephones and everything. On page 11 are the major increases and decreases. I chose amounts that were over 10,000, and so we have the police department that has 199,500. That includes communications, which was rolled in to the police department at 22,570, just to make it simpler. And communications was no longer being used for fire department and other things. It was being used just for police, so it seemed sensible to put that together. The animal control has a $14,875 increase. The municipal unclassified has a $62,323 increase, most of which is that water rate increase for the fire hydrants. We knew that was coming, and we had to pick that up from our second rate increase that we've had in 20 years. So we had to pick that up because we were within the budget period. We had to put it all into 2022. Debt service interest has a decrease of $37,661. We're very fortunate. We're paying off one of our debt services, which is a highway loan, a highway and bridge culvert loan. So that allows us to put another project in, which we were talking about, fire engine 3 replacement and the public works trucks.
Catherine, sorry, the municipal unclassified, the 62,000 from the fire hydrants, is that a one-time increase because of the change in the rates, or is that all of 2021 and 2022 because we did it halfway through?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I thought, so I tried to cut that down, that figure down, but Annalise said that is the figure, so I said we're going to have more information to see exactly what happens in 2023.
So this is just for 2022, it doesn't
Correct.
include the rate increase, because we said, this was the part that we said didn't start until January.
Correct.
Okay.
So this picks up from August, September, October, November, and December, because we couldn't put it into the 2021 budget, so it goes in here. However, I thought, well, this means that I'll be able to cut it down the next year. Annalise said no, so I said we're going to need more information on that.
Okay.
Yep, so we will get that. You got the same question I had.
Yeah, because that kind of negates our not having to put the $80,000 a year into the standpipe, whatever fund that was, that we got the USDA to get us out of.
Yes, definitely. So those are the accounts that budgets that had the major increases in them. And then I just talk about on the next few pages all the different revenue sources. You can look through all those. I don't need to go through them with you. Gives you a history of what's going on and everything. So the easiest thing to go find the percentages and the increases is to go to tab 3 and then go to the first page, which I pulled out of my budget, so I'm gonna have to give it. It'll be the first expense budget page for you all. And I'll get mine out here. Page
Two
one.
pages, two page ones. So the first one is just, the index.
Yes, the Excel spreadsheet refuses to do anything different.
Okay.
So it's page one that has all the accounts for the budgets on there for 2021, 2022. So when you look at the overall municipal budget, the municipal budget for 2021 was $4,142,954. And for 2022, it comes in at $4,437,612. So that's an increase of $294,667. And then that increases when you add in the capital budget, increase of $62,500. So the total goes to $357,167 as the increase. And then if you add in the water sewer, it remains the same at $357,167. So that will give you different percentages when you do the math, basically. And I'll zip back to those pages. In the letter of explanation. So when you're looking at the 357,167, that's a 6.7% increase. If you look at only the municipal budget, it's a 7.1, and then if you go down to the water sewer, it's a little bit less. But basically, those are large increases overall. Because remember, we don't have budgeting goals with a percentage not to go above like 2% or 3% or 5% like we used to have. Everything is put into the budget per the town council after review by the finance committee, and then by following the budgeting requests that are made. So that's an overall review of the entire budget. The other item that I'll mention is under your tab 6, which is your municipal capital budget CIP, which includes your water and sewer. So I've included 2 Excel spreadsheets and then the background information for those. And you've got a wraparound 11 by 17 that goes around those. So I've got just all the road work, just dealing with just the roads is your first handout. And that one indicates Plymouth Engineering road work only with town paving capital improvement plan. So this talks about every road that we have. It talks about the major projects that you picked out a year and a half ago to get engineering estimates on. It doesn't mean you're going to do all of the projects or even that you're going to do any of the projects, just simply those are the ones that were picked out at the time that you went out for a request for proposals for engineering as recommended by the Public Works Department and the town councilors and myself. A couple of items got added on to the end there, the culverts and Farnham Brook, simply because those were problem issues. And so this gives you the major projects, looking at just the road work. And you have all of the roads for different work that would be done, reclaiming, grinding, crack sealing, just paving. And then we've got a more comprehensive review, which is all of our associates looking at the overall road work with the sewer and the water involved. And this is much more comprehensive, and we also added on some different water and sewer projects that would be very good for the town to do, that we should be doing, but there is, limited amount of money and limited amount of low interest or no interest loans that we can compete for. But certainly we can compete for everything, and then see where we can come out. We listed them in reference to somewhat the priority that we thought they were in. I mean, obviously the condition of Hamilton Terrace means that there should be a water project up there. It's similar to North Main Street that had so many different bands put on it that it would just every winter break. And so Hamilton Terrace has started the same trend. It's the second water main in town that I've seen do that in the last 20 years, and there probably were some over the last 60 years or so. You have your other roads up in the subdivision, Forest Park, that also need attention. On your next council agenda, you'll have the pricing for the sewer video work and the sewer cleaning. It's very expensive because there's a lot of roads up in the subdivision, Forest Park, so we did get quotes on that, as well as Library Street. So you'll have that on your agenda. No matter how many times you contact other companies, there's maybe 3 companies in the state that do this type of work. We only get bids back from 1. But still, it's above the amount that I have the authority to approve for work that needs to be done. So that's something that you'll be able to look at and then see if we're going to proceed forward or not. We also listed sewer system specific projects, and so this listed a whole variety of items dealing with these buried manholes and the manholes that are sticking up, actually going through the town and straightening this out, which would be absolutely wonderful.
I have a question, Catherine.
Yes.
Just quickly, on one of those pamphlets there, it said like if we did all the sewers and the roads, it came up like $15 million.
Oh, yeah.
So if you prioritize that over a 10-year span, I'm just picking roughly, let's say it's $1.5 million a year, which would go up eventually, but, so let's say we wanted to do that starting right now next year. Where do you come up with that extra $1.5 million?
Well, that's going to be the issue, because before Annalise and I went through trying to find alternative revenue sources, and we could find a little bit, but nothing that will take care of everything, because it was talked about having a 10-year plan and doing everything, or a 15 or a 20, but there was so much out there, and some roads, simply will not ever get done, or they will not get done for a long period of time. So that's why we need to have more discussion. The town will be unable to borrow after a certain period of time. People will not be able to pay it back, but the banks aren't going to give it to us, or the municipal bond bank. Once we get, let's say we go out and we borrow money for 6 years and we borrow $6 million, at some point they're going to say no, because we'll have too much debt. The bond bank will go further than the regular banks will.
So how do you pay back those loans? You still got to increase someplace.
We're only going to be able to borrow a certain amount. So you would do rate increases for water and sewer, and the water and sewer is supposed to pay for these items, not the taxpayer dollars. But this is where, Annalise and I have looked at this multiple times, and the Finance Committee has talked about this too. How do you pay for all of this? There's not enough money.
Right.
The town would be able to borrow.
At the rate you're going, you'll never fix the roads.
Correct.
Well, that's not an answer. Like,
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. We can't just say,
you can't just say, well, we're not gonna fix
You're
them.
going to pick the worst ones and keep on going.
Yeah, but for 25 years, we got priority 1. If you just did priority 1, water, sewer, just water and sewer priority 1s, you're at like $4 million just for the water and sewer of priority 1.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't touched the road yet, and then you tack on the road for those, you're at say $6 or $7 million just for priority 1. One that was deemed by, somebody, a couple of years ago, but that's $6 million. Where you think?
do you ever go up to the public and have a town vote to see if the town is what the people in town are willing to, let's say, contribute another $200 on their tax bill to I don't know how far that'd go, but you see what I'm saying? See if they agree that they complain about the roads and
Do a
everything.
public referendum.
Right. So if you complain, here's the solution. If you don't wanna do the solution, don't complain about the roads then.
It'll probably come to
no.
that, down the road, it'll probably come to that.
Because the rate we're going, you're never gonna get the money,
Correct.
right?
So-
So we've gotta change course, and either people gotta ante up, or that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that our road budget was 150 grand this year, I don't know how many years back that it's been that way. But is that somewhere I can see what our road budget was for the past 10 years?
We can do that. The
But
2
if-
years prior to that, it was 500,000 for each year, then 150,000 after quite a, I don't know what we would call it, quite an interesting debate at the meeting, we'll call it
Right.
that. In which people said adamantly no more loans for a couple of years.
Well, I mean, if 150 grand, that just,
Not at all.
that should have never been,
But that was the
Approved.
decision of the group, that's what the group said
Yeah.
they were going to do.
well, if you look at this, that's a decision that
Yeah.
just can't be made.
That was in the middle of a recession, I believe, when there wasn't any money, correct?
Well, last year wasn't a recession.
No, but I'm
No.
saying back along.
No,
Back 10
no,
years
but
ago,
last
that
year's
was
budget
bad.
was
Yeah.
150 grand.
But
There
that's,
was no
that's the
recession last
decision
year.
of the counselors, and they know
Okay.
how much work needs to be done. Everybody's known for a long time.
So, well, back to Brent's point, more of a, we know the problem, so now we have to come up with a solution. What are our options? Is it just tax increases?
So the water sewer, those projects are paid just through rate increases.
Rate increases, and we just had a rate increase for water.
Not,
so-
not for like regular tax increases, just the rate payers that bear the burden of those, projects. But I mean, there's federal programs, the clean water programs and the low interest loans, but there's only so many of those around and they're quite competitive.
They're very competitive, and we have successfully gotten monies for the Main Street project, which is astronomical, so that's very good.
Right.
But we're not gonna get monies for all these projects, because everybody is competing for them.
Roughly, what's the most you've ever got for, in a year's time for grants for, let's say, roads?
There, well, previously, back in before 2010, there were actually some road grants from the state of Maine and the federal government, monies that were passed through the state of Maine from the federal government, and we got 40,000 for collector roads. So they were roads that we shared with the state. We did the winter work and the state did the summer work. So Phillips Corner was one of them. There used to be a lot of those. I got those when I was in Herman. I got over $1 million, like $1.2 million for like 4 or 5 roads and $500,000 for culverts. But those all disappeared when the times started getting tougher and there wasn't as much money coming from the federal government to the state, and the state couldn't give out these grants. So collector road grants are gone. So there are no more grants for roads. So we were fortunate on the Northern Regional Border Commission. We were able to tie in the Main Street project with economic development and everything, and we have 245,000 that we can put toward a sidewalk. So that's unusual. But the money for roads, there's very little of it, and no collector road grants anymore. So there's no money coming anywhere for grants,
So the roads would be
tax dollars.
tax dollars.
Right. So still, our biggest dilemma then is where to come up with $1.5 million extra every year.
No, and that's a really slow, I mean, that's 10 years out, and that's only your priority 1 roads. That's not even all these other roads that I would classify as, I mean, the web road's not on your priority 1. And if anybody drives on that, they know.
But the $15 million one, if I read it right, that was doing sewer and water too. Some of them we might not have to do the sewer and water.
Correct.
Right.
That's what we're gonna explore better. You
Right.
can never explore the water lines good enough to know. You
Right.
have to go on the history, but the sewer, you can do the videoing. So it's expensive, but we can eliminate some sewer lines from having to be done, or sections, because they're in good enough shape.
Is the town ever looked at the, instead of digging up the sewer pipes, they do that, like it's a sock or whatever, they blow down the pipe and put resin hardening in there.
Yes.
Have you done
yes.
that here?
Yes, we looked at that on several locations. We've been told that we can't have sewer lines that are in really poor shape. They have to be like good to fair. They have to be a certain quality, and then you can do it. It's the trenchless system.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we have looked at that. If the sewer lines are very bad, we have to dig them up. So this is sort of the item. Are we more interested in sewer and water or roads? I would think roads, but.
Well, we recently had water and sewer issues on Hamilton and Library, right?
Hamilton is the water. Library is more to do with Maine Central Institute will probably restructure.
Reroute. Okay.
And then more traffic will be coming down, and that road is bumpy anyway. It's got multiple issues underneath the road. So we need to explore that more. There's buried lines under there.
Right.
There's all kinds of things under there.
So for sewer road of Hamilton alone, you're at over $2 million, or around $2 million. Not including the water. If you did water too, then you're at $4 million.
Well, 3.9.
That's of one road.
Engineering and everything.
Right.
That's-
So
That's
when-
our total budget. $4.5 million is our total town
So-
budget.
So
Yeah.
on tab 3, page 1, at the very bottom, where the town municipal capital water and sewer, is that where you would put in budget stuff for the road and sewer that you wanted, the 1.5 million?
Okay, are we under tab 3?
Yeah. The bottom of page 1.
Page 1. All right, this is where the capital projects are in here for taxpayer dollars to deal with like the buildings, police cars and things like that. So it's more of the municipal items. The water and sewer will go in the water sewer budget, or they'll go into the water sewer CIP under number 6.
Okay.
And then we get debt service for it, which is placed in the water sewer budgets.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a preliminary road budget for next year?
That's what we're talking about tonight. You have everything in front of you. It keeps getting mentioned to me that we want different roads than what are on the priority. So if we want to do some engineering quickly to get pricing, we need to do it now. So Webb Road is, you've mentioned that road.
Well, that was me just alluding to the fact.
It should be on the list.
That it wasn't
It's
on
been on hold
priority.
for a long
The
time.
fact that it wasn't on
It's on the
priority
list,
one.
it's just not on the first one.
Right.
Yeah, it's in there.
So what's the criteria on what roads are on the priority list?
Yeah, the council went through and talked about the different conditions of the roads. We made a list with the assistance of the Public Works Department.
Okay, so it was council generated.
Yes, finalized, yes.
I'm not second guessing anything, I'm just curious, was the load, the capacity of a road taken into account? Let's say a side street's not gonna be, even if it's in horrible shape, it's not gonna be a priority as compared to Main Street or some other place. Just out of curiosity, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I'm not
I think it was
guessing.
more the condition of the roads and the number of complaints that we
Yeah,
had.
okay.
The other thing is too, when they did those priority 1 roads, what has happened is some of these roads have deteriorated very quickly after that list was paid out. Webb Road would be one of them, I believe. That, we had the priority 1 roads, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
geez, this road is just in the last 8 months has gotten terrible. I mean, it happens.
Well, that's what happened to Connor Street. That was in relatively good shape. We were gonna fix the sidewalk, and over the winter, the whole thing went down and heaved up, and they had like 4 inches to 6 inches high problems that happened on the road. So then it headed for priority 1, and normally it would have never been on there.
So I'm wondering, I mean, we're talking about like these huge, big projects as like it's an all or nothing thing. It really sounds like Hamilton Terrace has serious water issues
Yes.
going on. and that needs to be straightened out pretty soon, because it's only gonna get more expensive, and having all these emergency breaks and things like that, that should definitely be something that needs to be taken care of. But at the same time, do you wanna go in and like do the entire project? You wanna do all of the water, all of the sewer, and the paving all on one road, because that blows your budget all at once. Like, you don't have any, if you do that, you don't have anywhere else in town that you can do any work at all, if you take that kind of approach, even though it's a really big project. I mean, you look at some of the engineering alone is like, where did it go? $300,000 just for the engineering to be done. And I don't know, is that the road engineering and the water sewer, Catherine, or is that just?
It would be everything.
That's all of it, okay. So I mean, you're talking $300,000.
Well-
Like say tonight we say, okay, we know this is a priority road.
It
Do we
has to
say, next year, we are gonna do $325,000, get all the engineering done? And then take like bites out of it, even though, you know, there's no easy way to do all of these things at once. Ideally, we just go and we whack a pond and there we go, all the roads are fixed, but it's just not gonna happen. Jason?
Does Oliver know kind of the extent that we can go to fix the problem of Hamilton Terrace? You know, if they went from Heartland Ave, 350 feet down Hamilton Terrace, that's gonna fix their problem for the next 5 years. And it's only gonna cost you, you know, $300,000. Like, do they know that level of detail, or do they need to video, didn't they video it?
All right,
Already?
the water is the issue, so there's no video.
Oh,
for
yeah,
it.
the
It's-
water,
It's the
yeah.
sewer that we have, and we should video these so we know the condition.
That's
So we know the extent of what we're gonna do. It's just not something, it's a large expense, so it's not something that I can do on my own with Annalise. So
So
we
how do you make the judgment on that water? I mean, the water's 1.5 million.
Well, that's
How do you
where-
make the judgment?
Well, that's where we're likely not gonna do all these items. We're gonna do the worst ones, and we're gonna make a priority list so
So
that we've got 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and then we're going to go out and try to get as much low interest loans that we
Well,
can get.
that's only one item.
Yeah, this is true.
That's water for Hamilton Terrace. So there's no 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's just.
You can make them and pay them for them.
Well, all the-
No, what I'm saying, like, where do you, I don't know how
Well, the
you,
other ones is.
like, you don't even know if it would fix your problem if you did half of it. If you did the wrong half, then it didn't fix it.
Well, we can predict what section needs to be done, but that is a actual water line where as soon as you fix one, 2 weeks later, it's breaking further down, so there's a significant
Well,
problem.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, I got another question. On some of that, the roads there, they clean the drain. Is that just the ditching on the side of the road?
Yes,
So could it be possible that the town, the
Yes.
excavator could pick
yes.
that
Could
up?
save some money by
Yeah.
doing some of this, yeah.
Trim a little bit of it out?
Yes, this is the approach that we're gonna have to divide and conquer basically
Right.
to do this.
Okay. And the other thing is that you could, I wonder if you did, you know, it says the Hamilton Terrace. Maybe you may not be able to do the whole street, but they need to, you know, at least do 3/4 of it and then stop and you have to keep going again, but it's kind of I would say a bad way of doing things, but
I know.
if you can't come up with a full amount of money.
But
do
that's
something.
also the way that we did this when we got the $3.4 million for the sludge removal, and then miraculously did not have to use it all for sludge removal, even though we had 3 engineering estimates that said that we did. But had all the money left over so we could use it to do the mains. We didn't do the whole complete mains on all the roads. We did the parts that needed to be done. So I think that that's what we're gonna have to do here to have some accomplishments here.
But even still, if you did just Hamilton Terrace, that's 3.2 million. Let's take out the 62,000, we're down to 2 3/4 million. So still, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, you ain't gonna, I don't believe the town's gonna come up with even $2 million for 1 year.
No,
No.
What,
But you keep going behind every year then.
Yes, and that's how we're, I remember when I first came, Dwight was saying, you know, give me $20 million and I can straighten everything out. And I looked at this and said, no, we need $100 million, you know, for, you know, all the work that needs to be done. And, you know, that was a long time ago.
See, unfortunately, back in 2018, we talked about this. The $500,000 that Steve asked for was hard to put in there, but put in the budget based on every year, start picking away at it, so we wouldn't be at this point. Here we are 3 years later, we gained absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we're gonna get to a point in time where you're gonna have to go to the voters and say, listen, here's the deal. We owe, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they're gonna have 14,000 questions, why is it this way and why is it that way? And you gotta put it in the case of history, why it's that way. I mean, things change, times go up and down, and this isn't one person, one or two or three people that make this decision. It was a collective effort over 15 years. I mean, things change. But eventually it's gonna come out where they're gonna have to say, listen, either you're gonna raise all these taxes, or you're gonna go on this, or you're gonna have roads that look like this. Which one do you want? And it's gonna be up to them in the end. That's coming down the road. It ain't here yet, but it's gonna happen down eventually.
I may have to, and it's a viable
I
option.
think you're already there, Tim.
Yeah, I think
We're there now.
5 years
We were
best.
there a long time ago.
I mean, eventually that's what's gonna happen.
You keep postponing,
Yes, it's only gonna go up. It's
if
not
you're only gonna do a
down.
half a road each time, you
Yeah.
got 20 years of number one priorities.
And, I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't have a crystal ball. Like I said, I'm not even gonna be on this council at that time, but I don't even know if the taxpayers will go along with it the first time. There may be a second one before it's all said and done, because people don't realize, and I'm not saying this to be smart, but until I get on this council, I had no idea how much this stuff costs. I mean, I had a general idea,
That's
but,
right.
you know,
So you're a normal citizen then, no one
Yeah.
does.
yeah, we didn't, you know,
So you educate them, you put it out, referendum, whatever, show them all the facts, show them the numbers,
Yeah.
show them the lifespan to pay for it, and you're never gonna make it. So either they wanna do it,
oh, they don't.
or they don't.
Yep, I
You
agree
may end
with
up going
you.
back to dirt roads.
I agree with you 100%. I've told people it would cost you how many millions of dollars to do all the, why don't you just do all these roads? And I said, because you'd be spending at least $15 million. What? Whoa, where's that money gonna come from? I said, it's gonna come out of your pocket. Oh, well, sure, we can't do that. Well, you know, we're not Congress. We don't have a printing press, okay? Somebody's gonna pay for this stuff, for lack of a better term, and they need to know what it's gonna cost. And I think in time, like you said, Brent, I agree with you 100%, I think in time, you're gonna have to put it in front of the taxpayer and say, what do you guys wanna do? And they're gonna be finger pointing, screaming, and yelling, cattle, and it's gonna be everybody's fault, but the bottom line is, we're not Congress, and we don't control the price of what it costs to tar a road. We don't have any input in that whatsoever. The people that build these roads, that make them out of oil-based products, don't come to Mike Chincat or Tim Nichols or Brent Frost and say, listen guys, what do you guys think you want for a price? It doesn't work that way. We're told what it's gonna cost. Like everything else, a commodity. You either buy it at our price or don't buy it. So I think eventually, I don't know if it's gonna be this year, but eventually it's gonna have to go in front of the taxpayers, because otherwise you ain't never gonna get to the other side of it. I've been on this 24 years, we haven't got the other side of it yet, and it's not anybody's fault when it's wrong. It's just the way it is. They want to blame people for having it that way, but guess what? I've been sitting here a quarter of a century, and I can tell you right now, whether it was her or Dwight or any of these councils in here, we did our damnedest to try and make everything work and stretch it out. And guess what? You can't stretch out an elastic band over 4 miles. It's not going to work. You do the best you can, and everybody's done the best they could. But the bottom line is these prices have quadrupled in the last 15 years. That's what people need to understand. Everything is quadrupled in price. You either want decent roads or you want crappy roads and not spend the money.
So I want to just make a point. I don't want to keep going over this again and again. I think we need to go back to our mindset that we painfully went through in 2018. Here's what it's going to be every year. We had a highway superintendent that went through and had a fairly good idea what he was going to do with that $500,000 every year. We knew that $500,000 was going to be in that budget every year. We may catch up a little bit, we may just maintain. Even if we just maintain, we're still a hell of a lot better than where we are right now, because we lose ground every year. But 150,000, that's nothing. That is nothing.
$500,000.
So I think we're gonna have to, I know, but we're gonna start.
You won't even maintain that.
I know, but to have that amount, that was significant for the council then. 3 years ago, they had that amount in there. Because there was a big discussion about it. But we went for it because there was a plan from Steve and from the town manager and other input that said, okay, here's our 5, 10, 15 year plan. I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe I'm talking out of the side of my mouth on this. But there was a plan based on this. This is what I can do this year, and with that, that's what I can do next year. With that, that's what I can do the year after. Even if it's a skim coat of potholes this year, go after the hard one, then come back to this one. It was money that was planned on every year, so I think we need to look at that again.
Yeah.
We're not going to get the genie's lamp on the beach and get a $15 million bill just like that. But we need to think back.
And I'll add to that, and then I'll stop talking so we can get moving, but I'll add to that, you're gonna have to educate people, let them, and make them understand, you're gonna get them to understand, you either do it this way, or you're gonna be faced with, you choose this or this. That's your choices, that's what it's come down to. And I think they'll choose the built-in, like Steve went along with the 2008.
You know, you say that's like gonna be a hard thing to do. I would welcome it because, like you said, without being on the council, I didn't know this stuff. I had no idea. I was happily ignorant, like 95% of the people in this town.
So Jason, did you have a question? You had your hand up earlier.
The only thing was, you know that 218 that I keep coming back to that's over the 600?
Yep.
Can that be used, what part can that be used for? Can it be used for water or sewer or just sewer?
Just sewer, so
Just sewer.
anything to do with sewer, sludge.
Alright, and did we get a price on the well down by the old vet place?
We have a price on that, yes.
What is that price? Do we know?
Let's see, I put it, I think it's 24,000,
24?
24,999.
Alright, so we got 194,000 there that we should be putting right here for your sewer.
And we can use ARPA money
Right.
to some extent.
So we do have 194.
Yes.
Where'd they come from?
That's
Yes.
from over, yeah, you can explain.
Yeah, we were required when we got the low interest loan and the $1.5 million grant for the sludge removal that we were able to use for sewer mains. We were required to put $85,000 into a sludge reserve every year, and we were not getting out of it. So we had to talk our way out of it once we have enough money in there. It's pretty clear we built up $813,000. We don't need any more money. We asked to take $213,000 out and be capped at $600,000. And after a couple of years, the federal government agreed, because we just kept asking them, you know, and showing them the figures and saying the sludge removal will never cost that much. Please let us out of this loan requirement, which we had to approve to get the loan and the big grant. So now we have $213,000 that we can take out of the reserve account and use for sewer projects, which we plan to use this year.
But we're using 24 to rehabilitate that well down by, was it the well?
It's
a
a pump station.
Yeah, that
for
pump
the
station
sewer.
down by that
Yeah.
place. So we got 194 available.
Yeah, we'll use this. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go back and use the $500,000. Annalise, Timmy, and Donnie's off on a well-deserved vacation, so we'll leave him alone until we revamp all this, and then bring him into it when he comes back. And then we'll just lay this all out. There'll be priority 1, there'll be priority 2, 3, and 4, and more.
So when you put the 500,000 back in, does that go on page 27 of tab 3 under Donnie's public work? Is that where you put that?
No, we'll put it in a CIP under number tab 6. Yeah, we'll put it in the tab 6.
And
So I want to kind of keep us moving along here.
Yes.
Because we
Alright.
have Holly here and I folded my pencil.
Yeah, well, I think this is good, so we're back on track after last year when, you know, people just were very worried about getting another loan and.
Well,
there were-
that's what I wanted to point out, is that when we did the 2 years of the $500,000 in road investment, that was paid, we took a loan out and we paid the loan payments off with the Pittsfield Future Fund. So that didn't have like a tax impact by doing that. We were using money we had in the bank, literally, to pay off those loan payments. And we did it that way so that we were getting more interest by keeping the funds in the bank rather than just outright paying for the project. It made more sense to get the loan, which had a lower interest rate than the interest we were gaining on those funds in the bank. So that's why we did it that way and structured it so that we had those loan payments. So if we had done a third loan, that would have completely depleted that entire fund within, what was it, 3 years? I think it was 2023, 2024, we would have had like 3 batches of loan payments on this, it was 700 and something thousand dollars, because 500 went to road projects for the 2 years each year, and then 200 or 220, 40, something like that, went to other capital projects. And so that's how we were able to do that. Those projects did not actually have a tax impact because we were using the Pittsfield's future funds to pay those loans off.
But this will.
And that's why we were like, whoa, if we do this, then we don't have a cushion. You know, if we have a major break or something horrible goes wrong with Hamilton Terrace before we can like get things in line to have the work done, then, you know, we have a cushion to deal with that. Otherwise we wouldn't. So, I mean, there are funds still in that Pittsfield Future Fund, but they really should be kind of reserved, because so much of it's already committed to those loan payments through the next, I think, 6 more years.
Well,
Something like that.
it was 7 years in total, but
Okay.
remember, the interest rates have gone further and further
They have gone
down,
up.
which is going to affect how long the payments, how long we can make payments.
Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of like the 500,000 in context. It didn't have a tax impact when we did it. But if we add another $500,000 in and say, yeah, let's do that again, because we were making progress on all those plans. There was a lot of ditching, there was a lot of pre-road work that Steve's plan called for, like doing the ditching, doing the culverts, getting those roads ready to pave in another year or so. That was all very well thought out, and we should continue doing that and getting the brush done and all those things. But if we put another $500,000 in here, it will have a tax impact. And then you compound it, next year we do the same thing, and the year after we do the same thing, and it compounds. So we have to be cognizant of that as well.
But unless you do it, you can't even begin
Yeah,
to
you
get
can't,
out of this.
unless you start doing something more than $150,000. I mean, we had, I wanna say it was 2 years ago, we had $62,000 just in ditching and culvert work that needed to be done. You know, that's, you know, half, almost half of that $150,000 for the road work. So we
But-
definitely need to be doing more.
But Public Works can do that now, right?
It still has a cost to it though. You know, the time and materials of Public Works doing it. That $62,000 was Public Works doing it.
If they're doing that, they're not doing other work.
Right.
Yeah, but they got the equipment.
Yeah, they got
But
the
to
equipment
move this,
now, right?
move this
Well,
along,
still
we'll
no
have to do
equipment for them to do that.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, if we have the
Doesn't
staff
look-
and we have the equipment, you know, we have the excavator, we have the trailer now, it's easier.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
do
I know
those
it's still
things.
got a dollar amount
Yeah.
associated with it.
It
I
still has a
understand.
cost to it.
Right, yeah.
But we're in a better position to be able to do some more of that work ourselves, at least the pre-work, to get things ready. And I think, you know, as far as the Webb Road, it is in deplorable condition, even now, but in the spring, it was practically undrivable. But they've done a lot of ditching and cleaning out, so I'm hopeful that that keeps the water from going over and under and through the road, and that it will actually go down the ditches. So we'll see how that happens, how that helps in the spring. All right.
I know Mike said 500,000, but that's kind of I mean, that's a off the hip type number. I
We
mean,
need another.
It was, but it was a
No, I
significant
know.
increase
Zero.
from that,
Good
from the
example.
previous budget. It was
Good
huge.
example.
It's a 4-time increase.
Yeah.
If we're talking about 150 on a regular basis,
Yeah,
$400,000.
yeah.
But that was based on the intention that we had a very, very similar discussion. The roads aren't getting any better, we need to have it so that it's continued every year, so that the superintendent of the highways will know, okay, we have 500,000, let's start getting out of the ditches and onto the road, let's get out of the skim coat and dig down, put in some new gravel. I
Right.
mean, and that was a good option to work with, he actually started doing that, but it just never went through, and you know, things happened, it was taken out. You know, certainly for logical and perfect reasons, but that was the intent that we had back then.
I'm just thinking now, I mean, I could double that and,
You can
Oh,
double
I know,
that,
I know.
just put it
Oh, you
down.
could triple it, but,
Well,
all right.
I mean, like, what's the max we can do that's reasonable?
How many people we want left in the town? Whatever the tax base will handle, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever we come up with, we're gonna have to justify for our constituents, we've got a, 10.9% increase for this and this and this. But, to answer what you were saying, and I like that idea, and I think we probably even thought about that a while back, a couple iterations ago. They have the opportunity in the scheduling to refute or reply a comment or question. Like Tim said, we don't, as a private citizen, we don't follow the details that we do as counselors, so not everyone's privy to what's going on. But there is the opportunity to do that. I wish we could be ahead of it and tell them, okay, this is what we got coming up, so there's not gonna be a sticker shock, but it is every year. I mean, however well we prepare, or however many phone calls and meetings we have, or notices we put in the Rolling Thunder, it's just that way. It's
Just thinking like at the public hearing, you give like you say, okay, well, if it's 500,000, this is what it is, but we also have option B, which is, 1.5 million or something, and put it in front of them and hear what they have to say. I mean, you might be surprised that maybe they're not all that against 1.5 million.
I agree with you. If we did something like that, I mean, I'm actually going to bring up a point that you probably didn't intend by you saying that. If we did something like that, if we told them, okay, here's what it's going to cost, but here's what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
You're going to get, not explain, okay, we're going to pay these roads. No, this road is going to be like this, that road's going to be that, and our anticipation is, why we're asking for this for every budget, for the next year we plan on doing this and this. Because here's what we have for jobs that need to be done. First year we're going to get this. Next year we're going to get that. Next year we're going to get that. Next year we're going to get that.
Yeah.
That's really
the only way to get people to buy off on some of this stuff.
I
put it out
mean,
like that.
Case in point, they have a right to be on the Zoom meeting now.
I understand.
But
It's already out there though. I mean, the road plan from earlier this spring was released. These numbers, all this information has been out there. This is like the third time that we've seen it.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's part of the packages. It's available for people. So people that are choosing to be well informed can be well informed. The information is there.
Oh,
and it's a perennial problem.
We've had the phone calls, yes, on this.
Yeah, it's a perennial problem that people aren't informed until they get their tax bill, and then they have this sticker shock, and that's not something that we're gonna be able to solve. I mean, I don't know any town that doesn't
Well, I guess
have that issue.
for my education, I'd like to know what the difference would be. If I only have to kick in $300 more in my taxes to get 1.5 versus 500.
Yeah, but we don't
Maybe
know that until we get to the end of the last meeting because of everything else that can change.
Right.
That's when
Okay.
Catherine can give us a better
But
idea of what the
that would be a fairly easy calculation, not easy, but we could figure that out. We can come up with a fairly good
You
estimate.
come in with striking distance. a lot of
Yeah,
stuff's done.
absolutely. I mean, that's a valid point, because I would ask, well, what's the mill rate? What will I get for an increase on this bill, and what am I getting out of it?
And we can do that.
There's 5,000 people, if every person,
No, I know.
every citizen gave 200, you only got $1 million.
No, I'm just I'm throwing out a number, but
You ain't gonna tax a little kid $200, so households,
well, we should.
households, there isn't 5,000 houses in this town.
No, I know.
So, you know.
I mean, it was just a rough. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out a number, but you get
So
what
we know we
my
want to
point
do
was.
more with this. We know we want to have more focused approach as far as what we are going to do with it. And it sounds like the council is supportive of having a larger budget line for paving / road work. But I think that we should probably table the rest of this discussion for when we have the public works foreman here in front of us, and we can do like a little more in-depth. We do have Holly here, so if Catherine, are we done reviewing the budgets? Or
Yes, this is giving me the discussion that we need to see if we were going back to the overall plan that we had previously, which we are.
Okay.
So, those of us that are gonna work on this will come up with priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll have the years attached and the monies and everything. And so then you can take from one year and move, that will give you the different, mill rate increases and everything.
So Catherine, just a thought, if there's some way that you come up with, okay, based on this, here's what we would expect a normal tax bill to increase.
Sure.
I mean, it's just something approximate, some people can chew on.
We can do that.
It's $10 or $100.
Yep, certainly, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're a minute.
If we can move on to theater, I'm sorry, library, just because
Yes.
it's out of order, but we
Yep.
have Holly here with us, and I know, I know she's, probably tired, she just got back from her conference, so.
So where are we in the book here?
So the library is, account 25-10, it's on page 34
Of section 3.
of section 3.
Okay.
All right.
You can also find it on the, very first page with all the accounts listed. Page 34 has the detail amount
All right,
for the
thank you.
line items for library.
All right, so the library has come in for 2022 at $202,816. It is a $5,382 increase, or a 2.7% increase. The details are on page 34. And Holly is here to answer any questions or make any comments you'd like.
Hi, Holly. What was the largest increase, line item or description?
Actually, all the increases are salary and insurance.
All right.
If you compare last year to this year, everything else is either the same or even a little less.
All right. Thank
except
you.
for those.
I have a question, and don't take this wrong. I'm just curious, because I don't know enough about the library, what goes on there, but there's a circulation librarian for $34,000. Could a person take and hire 2 assistants instead of that circulation, two assistant people instead of that circulation librarian? And you'd save a little bit.
Could you hear the question?
Is that an option?
Okay. So Holly, Brent Frost is asking just to learn about the library.
Yeah.
Instead of having the circulation librarian, could you hire 2 part-time people for less money and get the work done?
No. The circulation librarian is not just circulation librarian. She's also the technology librarian. She is the person that is consistent. She is here from Monday through Friday at the desk. So she is like the face of the library. And when you have more part-time people, honestly, more mistakes are made. And having that consistency and the education, she has more education, actually even more than I do.
Okay. Like I said, don't take that wrong.
And she has the experience.
Yeah.
So no, part-time people replacing that, no, it would not be.
Don't take me wrong on that, I'm just asking that, not knowing what goes on there.
Yeah, he's just learning about this, so it was
No,
a good question, good
I
question.
understand.
That's a good question,
And
because
I'm sorry, who am I talking to?
Yeah, Brent Frost, Counselor Frost.
You'll have to come in the library. You can get you in.
Oh, you're
I knew she was gonna say that.
I haven't been there probably since I was 15.
You've been on a class trip, right?
Brent Frost,
Painted the saw of the key club. The key club.
So I'd like to ask a question. How many people do you have through there, weekly, monthly, yearly? Do you have an idea of the usage that you get out of the library there by personnel people?
So we average about 80 people per day,
Wow.
except Saturdays. Saturday it's more like 20, but we're also only open about 3 hours. We averaged more before COVID. It was more, well, it was about 100, 110. But since COVID, that has less, although we're almost back to where we were before, we're getting there. But we also now do like curbside pickup that we never did before. We're definitely doing more online stuff, so that like that 15,000 in books, I've actually been increasing the e-books and e-audiobooks and getting less physical books, because that definitely went up quite a bit.
So another question, and this is a financial question only. You had mentioned about the circulation library, that's the constant person in the library. So that person's there all the time. Please don't take this the wrong way, but are you not there all the time?
Oh, I'm here all the time too, but
Okay.
I have to do things like this, so I'm not always at the desk.
So by constant and consistent, available to the public. That's what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, alright,
Yes.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I didn't know how to ask that without coming across as a jerk. I'm all set.
I'm all set.
So,
Any other questions for Holly?
This covers her projects for the windows, or is that capital improvement?
Capital, yeah.
It is.
It's in a separate budget later on.
This is just operating.
Just offer it, okay.
Yeah, just operating.
Yeah. I think I'm good.
What'd you say the percentage increase was to?
2.7?
It's 2.7 overall, yes.
So, is the library part of like pooled purchasing for heating oil, or do you have your own, contract?
There
Like,
was a
is it
ta-
pooled for the town?
And any of the fuel that's purchased is done from cooperative, quotations, so.
Okay. So
they're
this
part
is
of
still
it.
a good number, cause I know my fuel's gone up like 30 cents in the last 2 weeks.
I went through all those, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Because the town doesn't pay the excise tax on the different types of fuels, our fuel is less, you look at what's at the pump, we don't pay that.
Yeah. Alright. Holly, do you have anything for us before we let you go? Not that you're not welcome to continue listening to
You learned about the
you know,
roads.
talk about,
We'll put you on the road
insurance
committee.
is next, you know?
No, do I need to talk about like the capital budget part, or is that something else?
It's on a different night, I think that we're all set, we put the funds in. Hopefully you're gonna get some reasonable bids for it this time.
Well, I did get, an estimate, you know, not official bid, but it's from, Bagala Windows, who did the Historical Society windows. And it was like 59,000. But there are also things that you don't have to do anything to them for 20 years. Like you don't have, you know, so. That's the only thing I've gotten so far, because I can't even get quotes from people at this point.
Yeah, I understand. We ran into that for some other projects too. There's a grant that you were going to try to apply for too, and then maybe a
Yeah,
couple
the
others.
Belvedere.
Yeah.
But I'm also gonna contact the state library, because they always have other places, I know like the historic commission or something, I know there are other, avenues that I can go through too.
So the town got a Belvedere grant, for, I think, 23,000 for the Historical Society, and that actually wasn't that hard to write and to get, so I think you would compete very well.
Well, and they know, like, they worked with Bagala Windows before, so if that is someone we end up going with, I think we have a really good chance. But the maximum amount right now is 20,000.
No, any monies that we can get through grants would be good.
So Holly, the Skowhegan Main Street program had their newsletter come out the other day, and there's a thing in here about the 1772 Foundation. They have grants for nonprofits. I don't know if the library would qualify that, given that you're a department of the town, but it has historic preservation projects are listed, and they have grants up to $10,000 with a 1-to-1 match. I don't know if that's something that could be leveraged with the funding we've already set aside for the windows to do other projects, or maybe more of the windows that might be another year's project, but I can forward this to you.
Okay, I will look into that. I know the nonprofit part is usually, because we're a town department, usually means that we can't, but it can't hurt to ask.
Okay.
I'm all good with this.
Everybody all set?
Yes.
Thank you, Holly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Okay, do we want to go back to the beginning and start at the beginning of our list and work our way down through, so the council would be the next one, which would be,
Yeah, we can do that.
the first page.
All right, so the council is a $12 increase. It's a
Page
0.3% increase on page 5 of your tab 3.
And this is just basically municipal dues.
And all that's in here is the MMA dues and some flags. So usually the MMA dues up and down on the percentage is what changes this.
Anybody have any questions about that one?
It's increased $12, we're doing well. I've lost more money at Dunkin' Donuts than that.
All right, let's flip the page 6, we'll go to the administration.
So, quick question, I know we're not doing formal votes here, I mean, are we keeping track of what we've approved on, or?
Yeah, consensus.
Well, we just have our list of what we're reviewing tonight, so we know we've gone through these.
So
Okay.
I'll go with the library.
Okay, all right.
I just put a little note reviewed on blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
in
yep,
my book,
fine.
so. And then we're gonna see all of this again. And
No, I
again.
understand, I didn't know if you
Two
wanted to
more
record it
times.
somehow officially, I know it's, it's more like a verbal thing to the big vote, but, I think we had, done a show of hands type of thing, but, whatever
Yeah,
you
I
was fine
think
with me.
just consensus.
Yep, that's
is
fine.
Yeah. Unless got somebody on the Zoom.
Right, understood, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, administration is the next one, 3.8% coming in at $112,122 on page 5. The increases would be in the CPI and the health insurance. Hopefully the health insurance for all of these is estimated at 5%. Hopefully this will come in less, but right now, because it was a 0% last year, which was very abnormal, I would not think it would be a 0% again, but we shall see.
To claim ignorance here, CPI was that?
Consumer price index, and looking at other towns, we put in a 3.5% across the board as a wage increase for all of the different positions, except for those that were very close to minimum wage, because minimum wage is going up, and frankly, just seeing how much food and everything has gone up drastically, I put 5% in for those that had the lowest rates.
Roger that, thank you.
Catherine, and maybe this is a separate, maybe it needs to be in the additionals or not, but we had talked about utilizing some of the ARPA funding for, I don't remember what we actually called them, not bonuses, but, to show appreciation to the employees that worked.
Yes.
So all the forward-facing employees that worked throughout
The
the
ones that
pandemic,
stayed,
didn't
yep.
leave or go on medical or anything. And where would that be figured into the
All right,
budget?
I had figured because the budget has been going along well, that we would take that out at the end of the year from the 2021 budget.
Okay. So this is just, the CPI and the health insurance. Any questions about the administration question, folks?
Just because what was the percentage increase?
3.8%, and that's the basically cost of living increase, consumer price index, and health insurance
Health
increase,
insurance.
which might not be as much as we're budgeting for.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, let's go to,
Well, we have to compete with the other towns and other industries. And these have not been easy jobs for anyone. So I put something in that seemed reasonable considering what we've been through and how much people are raising pay at the other towns also. But again, it's in there as an initial item, and so
No,
we'll see what
Hopefully
happens.
the health,
at the
like I say,
end.
hopefully the health insurance will come back a little bit less.
That will be good.
That'll help adjust it a little bit. Like I said, last year it was 0, but it won't be that this year, I'll guarantee it.
Yes, this is true. All right, going on, if we're all set. Are we all set?
I think so.
Okay,
Uh,
going on
town
to the town clerk. All right, for the town clerk, it is in at $76,797. This is an increase of $7,873 or 11.4%. And some of this is the raise that the town clerk got She was a low-paid town clerk, that didn't work the counter much, but now she is running the counter. So we gave her a raise for doing that. And going to all the motor vehicle schools and all the other schools too. And then I think there's some minor increase that's in the general supplies and the equipment.
So just for clarification, not as a point of argument, but isn't the motor vehicle training and the other training, that part of a job description? If we're using that for a reason for a raise, I mean, that's what she should be doing anyway.
Well, there has to be somebody that's in charge of the motor vehicles, and so, as a veteran employee who has taken all the courses over the years, she took over running the front office with myself.
Right, but I'm talking about specifically responsibilities that a town clerk requires anyway.
She was backup on motor vehicles previously. Now she does all the reports. She's the motor vehicle agent in charge of all the plates and all the stickers.
So she's the only one that does that?
That would be correct.
There's no one else can do it as backup, so if she's out, nothing gets done?
Oh, they're all learning backup. Everybody will be cross-trained, totally, yes.
Okay, so with this cross-training, will we expect increases for them too?
No, they've got their increases.
So what was the town clerk's increase items?
So the town clerk got a $2 increase, for picking up the motor vehicle agent, work, which, was substantial as we had to go back and, put together items for a period of time for the state of Maine. So she is in charge, she took over the charge of all the clerks in the front office for all motor vehicle
So there's-
items.
So that's $2 plus the 3.5%?
Correct, yes. The $2 was, in 2021.
So it's not included in this?
Well, it is, it's in the base, but it's not increased in this year, but it's in the base. Once it gets in the base, it's in there.
Okay,
Yeah, so the increase this year is 3.5%.
for 2022.
Correct.
And that's across the board for all of them?
Correct, everybody is treated the same,
The cost
except
of living.
if they had lower, a lower, rate, so they were, at 24 and 28,000, it's not livable. So I put them in as 5%. You have minimum wage going up to $12.75, and you can't pay somebody, it's not appropriate to pay somebody that does, record keeping at the transfer station, $12.75 when they're reporting to DEP, versus $12.75, in a store.
Any other questions about the town clerk budget?
The $2 was given to her in 2021?
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
so
Yeah, so now it's in the base, so it does increase it in 2022.
Okay.
And then once you go to 2023, it won't, because it'll just be the increase,
right.
yeah.
Okay, are you ready to go on to finance?
Please.
Okay.
All right, very good. Finance comes in at $195,460. It is an increase of $8,401, or 4.5%. Finance is on page 8. And again, this would be a number of things. It's the personnel services and the health insurance for what you've already heard about. There also is an increase in contractual and general supplies. We've heard from going to the vendors that everything, seems like everything is going to increase here.
Catherine, did we just upgrade the computers? Weren't there new computers bought this year?
There will be, but that is not all of the funding.
Okay. So does that need to be adjusted down if we just bought the computers in 2021?
I just put 2 computers in here. You're going to be shocked when you hear how much all of this is going to cost with the server and everything. I am shocked. So I did leave in here 2 computers, but I didn't increase this any in the equipment.
So this is all just the same from before?
Yes.
How much did the supplies increase, Catherine?
Pardon?
How much did the supplies increase? You said that went up some.
Yep, supplies went up, the postage was the main item
Section 4.
that went up. We've tried our best to keep that down, but it's amazing what the cost is. So let's go to the budget.
Yeah, page 3.
I'll get right there under number 4.
I'll go to my questions leading up to that.
Yeah.
What increase, could we get some of the, was due to the pandemic, can we get some of that money from the pandemic to cover some of this?
The money from the ARPA can't, to my knowledge, so far, can't cover just regular budget items.
Okay.
But, the additional items that were never budgeted, for the masks and, everything else can be taken from, the COVID money supplies that's in that ARPA. Most of it will be police and fire, but there'll be a little bit for the other.
So that could backflow into this then?
Yes,
money.
yes, it can help, otherwise it's gonna come out of here.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's,
All right, so getting to the supplies here.
okay.
Yep, supplies general went from 25,564 up to 26,327, so basically about $800.
Yeah. Okay.
Which was, a lot of it was the postage. But the discharges, the foreclosures were a little bit more too. It's a variety of things. A little bit in general supplies too. I know, I didn't think office supplies would go up, but it's ridiculous.
Have we seen that audit yet?
Pardon?
The audit, wasn't there an audit that was?
Yeah, I have actually received the audit. I will assure you we'll never have any more of these remote audits because they do not work right. I have to go through every page and check all the figures. That's my next project. Yes. But the audit figure's gone up too. They held our audit costs for many years. It indicated that with the new way of doing the audits and all the additional costs, they can't hold that anymore. So we and like 20 some other towns that they held the audits on, because we would make all the books for them and put everything together, line it all up down here, they'd come in, everything would be here. So it would save them money. It's just, they can't hold the line anymore, so there's nothing that we can do that will cut down costs. We would make them their own books that they could take with them. The audit's going up too.
Is that in the contractual?
Yes,
here?
that's in the contractual. Contractual has the major cost increase. Contractual went from $33,413 up to $41,536. $3,000 was the audit. The trio support is up. The network and computer support is up. Payroll fees were actually a tiny bit down, just a tiny bit. Postage meter's the same. And hopefully the postage supplies will be the same. And the copier is the same because we signed a multiple lease. The only way we would sign it is if it was the same amount as it was the prior years.
Who's our deputy tax collector and treasurer?
The deputy tax collector and treasurer will be the person that we hire. So that's the person that we're advertising
For Emily?
Yeah, for Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah, who went to Dover Foxcroft and is finance director.
And is that dollar amount similar to what it was?
Yes, yes.
Any other questions on the finance department? Okay, let's go on to assessing.
Very good. Assessing, this will be interesting. Assessing came in at 2022 at $44,979, an increase of $6,004, or an increase of 15.4%. And so this is a guesstimate. Assessing is now out to bid. We only have one bid so far, and they're due tomorrow. So hopefully it's not up this high or not beyond this. But the assessors have been clear that there's a lot of activity here and it's costing them money.
Did our current assessor reapply?
They're the bidder, yes, so far.
And this is the number that we're looking at?
That's a guesstimate only on my part, so I wouldn't be caught unawares. I heard it, they said it was gonna be more. Because we were a very active town. The TRIO program goes up every year too.
Captain, you had mentioned an increase of 15.4%. I'm looking in your notes here, and it says 8.9. Where's that 15.4 coming from?
Okay, I'm not sure, 15 point, I did the math here for,
Well, you were talking along, you said it, and I wrote it down.
okay, 15.4% for assessing. I don't know what, 8.9, I'm sure.
Well, it's on your paperwork, if you look on okay, hold on here.
Oh, okay, that's.
Okay,
that's
yeah, but where, okay, that's the other part of the question. You're showing the
That's for the
contractual
TRIO.
at 17.9%.
Yep, the TRIO, under the TRIO software assessing package, the last figure is that there's an 8.9% increase. So the TRIO goes to $7,170 from $6,500.
Right, so that 15.4 is for the whole, the bottom
thing.
line.
Yes, whole bottom line.
Bottom line at 44,979.
Yeah, and hopefully it will come, it
Okay.
will not be that high.
Yeah, okay,
And I can reduce this, but we'll see what happens when we open
All right.
bids.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on assessing? Legal.
Yes, legal, I haven't increased this for years, but I did put $2,000 in, the 10.5% increase, not because of any of the regular business, but just we have police negotiations coming up. And most of the legal budget has been spent on that. And for the first time, we have an actual lawsuit going on too. So.
Can you be more specific with that?
That is there are neighbors on a discontinued road that do not get along and are blocking each other off. The town had been asked to declare what the width of the road was and did that appropriately to try to resolve this. Because you can't block off a discontinued road. And so one of the people has sued the town and the other property owners, and it's ongoing here. It's on a 1966 discontinuance. And then the town council was asked to declare how wide the right of way is, and there's a certain law, and they followed it. So we're part of the lawsuit.
That's the Grant Road, Mike, I believe.
Taylor Road.
Taylor Road, that's what.
I know, it could be Grant Road.
So
Yeah.
are you all set, Mike?
Yeah, I got a
Oh,
question.
Brett?
Under legal, when we take these residents to court to fix their house up or whatever, does that come under this legal category, or does it come under the
Code.
code enforcer?
It comes under code enforcement,
Okay.
yes.
All right, I'll wait till I get it there too, okay.
So, yeah, that's actually, seemingly a top note, pursue problem properties. So that
Does it go?
documentation, the notification, or, submitting documents to the court for, taking orders to court for whatever reason, we can probably identify that, but, having a lawyer involved with litigation, would all that be under the CEO?
In that budget.
In the CEO
Even,
budget.
even the legal issues the CEO has to deal with if it goes to court, that's all under the CEO budget?
Yes, we did put that under the CEO budget, to keep it separate from, the regular legal monies. The regular legal monies could just gobble everything up, and people wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that the codes could be dealt with. So there's a separate line
Okay.
just for that.
Is the, it's not called out here, CEO, okay, codes and building inspection, that's where we're gonna be talking about that?
Correct.
Perfect, good, we'll be talking about that, thank you.
Catherine, given the fact that we have that, attorney's fees for that lawsuit, as well as the other FOIA type stuff that keeps coming in that needs to be reviewed, and the negotiations, is this gonna be enough?
Probably not, but, generally, we don't really spend much other monies, it's those categories that you indicated that, you know, are taking up the monies.
I don't know,
Let's leave it the way it is, but come back to it.
I know we're gonna need, resolution on Estelle Street, I think. Keep that in mind.
well, that was one of the things I had in mind of,
Right,
of
yeah, that's a-
possibly popping up, and,
It's a good
you know,
thought.
that might lead to other things, and, I mean, $2,000 doesn't get you much when you're talking about $250, $300 an hour worth of
Right,
work, so.
For sure.
No, but you also can just eat up legal fees too, so.
It is, it's,
Right.
So,
So do we
with
think that
that,
budget needs to be increased?
Probably. I was trying not to.
so something like Estelle Street, that would not be a CEO issue?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
Definitely legal.
Exactly.
But, seems legal to me.
It is.
I mean, it's
legal.
similar to Taylor Road,
Yeah,
kinda, sorta.
It would be.
It's more of a-
It's gonna be a lot of research.
Eventually
digging.
you're gonna get there, it's gonna happen.
You're gonna dig and dig
it's
and
more of
dig.
a general legal.
Probably next year,
issue
Tim, don't worry about
versus
it.
a specific.
Oh, what's the Red Sox for?
Yeah, it's gonna fall
I'll
in
call you up and
I
tell you
think
about
so.
it.
I think it would.
That'd be my
fall.
priority, watching the Red Sox.
I mean, if we don't use it, we don't use it, right?
I mean, if you were to trial, you could be looking at like $20,000, $30,000 just for one trial, you know? I mean, right now the town is like an adjunct party kind of dragged into this squabble between neighbors, but I mean, if it was just, you know, one person versus the town over an issue, then if we had to go to court for that, then this would be nothing.
Well, and that's what, I think Estelle you'd run into that. That's gonna be,
That
Estelle,
is
it's gonna be
totally-
those people on that street versus the town.
That is a totally confusing situation.
No, I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying it's not gonna be one resident versus another. It's gonna be the residents versus
Right.
the town, I would think.
So,
This-
but either way, I don't think this is enough.
No,
Even
we're gonna have to
that
increase it
issue
down the
comes
road.
along, I
We're
don't
gonna
think
have
this is
to.
enough.
Yeah, we have the opportunity
You
to,
can go
manage
back.
funds to do so.
So we should come back to that one.
There's
Yeah.
a real money.
Is that a general consensus on that?
What's that, I'm sorry?
Is that a general consensus that we should revisit this later?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, elections,
All right, very good. Elections came in at $4,402, an increase of $357, or 8.8% increase. And remember, any little budget, putting a small amount of money in does make a high percentage.
So this is the cost of the general election we'll have in a week or two. Will this be the same cost for that special election that has to be done for Amanda Collmore's seat?
We can run the special election for less hours than a regular referendum or a regular November election. The regular November election has to go 8 to 8. For the special ones that don't involve the state, we can run them for less hours. So you pick out a period of time you think people will be able to come in, plus absentee
Right.
ballots. So it'll be less for Amanda.
Regardless of the cost, my point is it's not budgeted. We know it's gonna happen and it's not budgeted. So we either deal with it now or we deal with it after it happens. Because we know right now that has to happen.
And we have a pretty good idea of what it would cost based on Brent and Mike's seat.
Which really weren't that expensive.
Right, but you have the dollar amount, so,
Yeah, we were able to fit it into the overall budget.
okay.
Yeah, I
So
think
the general election and the special election for that seat, we'll be able to put in this budget.
I think you'll be all set.
Good enough.
Awesome. Let's talk about the roads the same way. Darn, okay. All right, thank you.
alright, so we're good with that one?
Yep.
Alright, let's move on to, municipal building.
Municipal building has come in at $112,139, an increase of $607. Oh, excuse me, I skipped the wrong one here.
Yeah.
Municipal building came in at $50,294, a a decrease of $1,112 or a 2.2% decrease. So 50,294 on page 13.
Just so everyone knows, that's on page 4 on the section 4 too,
Yeah.
the details of it.
Yes. So basically, we go through and check the different pricing for the different items, and this budget is very similar to last year. Water and sewer had to be increased, I think the heating was decreased.
Yeah, how did we decrease the heating with everything going up?
Well, it actually,
Did we buy everyone sweaters?
no, we actually used less fuel.
Really?
But last year, nobody was actually down here for part of, well, this year.
A lot of it's the
We weren't-
fire station and how many fires they have, how often they open the doors.
Yeah.
The doors are kept open.
The town must get a discounted price on buying fuel since
We
you buy
do.
large, oh yeah.
Yes, we don't pay what's at the pump.
Right.
Nobody objecting to a decrease in the budget then?
No more than that.
So let's
Not,
go
not to
over-
go
That's
back,
okay.
but I noticed some of that elections, advertising had no money. Isn't there an advertising cost for like those special elections?
Yeah, we
Or are
just,
you good?
we just put it into the town clerk, the general one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, once you, if you
I'm good.
have little, yeah, some of these you can save money by just using the bigger account instead of having 5 or 6 little ones.
Okay. I just knew advertising's crazy expensive.
Oh, it is crazy expensive.
Community and economic development,
Yes, community and economic development is the one that is a $607 increase, came in at $112,139. So $112,139, a 0.5 or 5/10 increase.
so the personnel is, the assistant's position,
And so you have the cost of living increase of the raise, you have the health insurance, and then we decreased a few items further down based upon current costs and everything.
So who is that person specifically?
That is Kathy Timmons.
What'd you say that percentage was, Catherine?
Pardon?
What'd you say the percentage was?
0.5, so 5/10, 0.5. Now, I will be able to, I think, decrease this a little bit more because the first park assessment just came out for 21-22. They run on the fiscal year and it's down 3,000, so I'm gonna do a little bit of checking on that. So that would be something to go back to. I just got that 2 days ago.
So I know we've talked about this before, the first part, that 21,624, isn't that like a payoff? Isn't that a payment so many years until it's paid off, or is that like a membership fee every year?
No, that goes on until they're able to not have any funds raised so that the towns can get out. So we're in it.
I don't
There's
understand what you
there's a
said.
specific, it doesn't run out, there's specific language that requires that First Park has to be self-sufficient so that they don't need to raise these monies for the membership. So once there's no membership cost, we can get, if the town wants to, they can get out. But it's starting to bring in money now, so the cost of it is starting to go down.
so they've been selling lots and having a lot of
Yes.
development in there.
There's
so
more
that's
development going on.
bringing down their expenses that they're passing on.
So
Yeah.
I know I've asked this question before, so forgive me if I repeat myself, but it's been a few years since I've been sitting in this seat. So what do we get out of First Park?
So
What do we tell the taxpayers that $21,000 is getting us?
So First Park was a commitment that the town made at the request of business owners back in the late 1990s. The park has been built out substantially, but often has nonprofits in it, hospitals, so that not everything is taxed. So they are selling lots, now the economy has changed around. So it is the commitment it's the jobs, basically. It's all the jobs. People from Pittsfield go down and work at First Park, others do. So good paying jobs at T-Mobile and the medical facilities and the other facilities is the major item. It doesn't make money for the town. Yes.
So that's what we tell the
The job.
constituency, is that there's a potential that with these jobs are in Oakland, that people from Pittsfield might be able to go work there.
Yes, and they do, but not a lot.
Mark.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, as soon as we can get out of it, we should get out of it. Because there's some benefit to it, but I don't, I was iffy getting into it in the first place, way back when. And I'm even more iffy about it now, because we've got, there's nothing wrong with looking at, T-Mobile and these different places, but we've got enough to concentrate right around here to go around.
We do now.
Yeah, we do now, and I'm not gonna be here, but my suggestion would be I wouldn't fight to get out of it, when we can get out of it, I would. Because, it was an agreement way back when in the 90s, and things have changed.
What's our contractual obligation if we don't pay that?
Well, technically it's an assessment, so it's just like one from the school or the county. Eventually, if they wanted to, they can come in, and seize property or put a lien on the town. It's an assessment, just like a school and a county, put together under the law. So technically that could happen, whether it would or not.
Put together under a contract.
But there's a law, an actual law was passed that put First Park into play, that set up First Park. So it's an assessment exactly like a school district or a county.
Right, but that didn't oblige Pittsfield to get into it. Pittsfield got into it under a contract, not by law.
But once we get under it, we have to follow the law. So we're
The law
stuck in
changed after the
it.
contract was
We're
in.
stuck in it.
It's a lifetime contract, like you can never get out of it.
There's a 60-year revenue contract, and the other part, I'd have to look up how many years that is, but we cannot get out of this until there isn't an assessment. So it has to be self-sufficient, and then the towns can get out. Like, there's been a number of towns that have tried this, but legal opinions show that, we're
So
on
do
there.
we get feedback from First Park as to when or if that's gonna happen? Are they close to it, but they don't wanna tell us because they don't want us bailing?
Well, no,
How do we know where they are in the process? How do we know how many more lots they have to sell, or how close they are? Do we have any idea?
so there is no one at First Park, just from my going to the meetings, there's no one at First Park that wouldn't like to have the facility be totally self-fulfilling so that you didn't have to have any assessments. Everybody wants the assessments to go away. But projections would show it's gonna be a number of years before more lots get sold, although they're being sold faster now, which is very good, and the value is going way up, which is good. And so the assessment has gone down from, our assessment was 21,000, the last one we got is 14,500, so that's good.
So if
Very
you
good.
think about it in this respect, in that we are regional economic partners with other
Correct.
towns to drive
No,
development.
I understand that.
But
I understand that. I just wanna know the numbers.
Right, it
So,
has more benefits too though, because when businesses go to First Park, and we ran into this before when we were looking at economic development, if businesses go to First Park and First Park is not a good fit for them, they then refer businesses out to the other towns that are part of First Park to keep those businesses in the area.
no, I understand all that. I understand that. I just wanna know what the numbers are. You just said the last assessment was 14?
Our assessment for the first time has gone way down to 14,000 from $21,624. So we've had a major breakthrough here
So-
in the number of lots that have been sold, and the value is going up.
Okay, so if
This is
you're
good.
saying our latest is 14,000, why do we have 21,000 in the budget?
All right, because this just happened 2 days ago. So remember I said.
So
that-
so we haven't passed this yet, so we can change this.
I said that we would need to go back to this because I wanna figure out what the second part of 2022 will be.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're gonna revisit this and we're gonna
Correct.
specifically look at that
It'll be on the legal.
to the number of maybe $7,000.
Correct, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, oh, well, maybe 14,000,
right, $7,000 less than what's in there now.
correct, yeah.
Down to 14.
Yeah, this one in legal we need to go
All right.
back to.
Okay, that's what I need to know, thank you.
Any other questions on that one? We're gonna come back to it later. Insurances.
All right, insurances have come in at $69,861, an increase of $5,477 or 8.5%. Insurances are on page 15. And so half of the insurance is locked in from 2021. The other half usually is around a 3 or a 5% increase. Last year it was 0, so that was very good. Only because I think I was very, very persistent. So the airport liability policy for a few years has been the same amount. That has been very good. We do have a deductible in because not everything is covered. Under the policy, you have your deductibles, and sometimes the departments can't encumber them just because of the size of their budget. And we have the firefighters policy here. So we are still in the commercial sector.
I'm sorry, Catherine, I missed, was there an increase on this one?
Yes, there's an increase on the insurance of $5,477, an 8.5% increase. And the major increase has to do with the fact that when a new fire truck shows up, a very big business auto bill shows up. So that's the major increase in the insurance account. Because you're looking at a fire truck, a public works truck, and a 3/4 Chevy, that would probably be used. So that will jack the insurance up.
So this is including the expected increase in getting those vehicles?
Yes, I included that in there.
Any questions about the insurances? We'll go on to codes and building inspection.
So code enforcement came in at $58,114, an increase of $7,150 or 14%. And let's go to that budget.
So this is the one that I'd like that, and obviously Brenda's to consider adding amounts in there, because I think
Get 10,000.
it's time to fish a cut bait on these problem properties we've had. Seriously. They're an eyesore, and we've heard it many, many times by many tax-paying people, so I think we ought to consider it.
You got legal fees of 10,000. That ought to go to at least probably 50 minimum.
And we did actually try to do that twice before, and it was not approved, and so it got in there at 10,000. 1 year it got cut to 5,000, and I put it back at 10,000.
I
that was
think
the-
compromise would be plenty.
Well, that was to try and see where we got. So where does that stand, that one we were taking to court?
All right, so this is the same thing as before. We do not have a certified code enforcement officer. The alternate officer, Al Tempester, who does a magnificent job, has not been able to come. He said that he would take it to court for us, but he got injured and has not been able to come back very much. So when he's able to come back, he'll take that to court for us.
Which one is this?
So that was the 10,000 we put in
He
there.
really doesn't want to go to court. He'll help us put it together. He'll be a witness. Yeah.
So I'm against dumping any more money into that until we find out what kind of fruits that bear.
Do you want to see a resolution on one of them going to court first?
Yeah, to see
before-
what do we get for our $10,000 taking this person to court? Did
So
it get cleaned up or did it not do anything?
when the estimate
Because we
was-
ran, when Matt Bolser was on, he ran with the other town that he was with, and they take him to court, and then the next year they'd have to take him to court, and the next year they'd have to take him to court, so how much taxpayer money are we gonna waste taking him to court?
Didn't resolve it.
It didn't resolve it.
and they just wasted a bunch of money. So that's why we put 10,000 in to take one to court to see, that's what we decided, to take one to court to see how far it got, what did it produce? Did it clean the property up? And we're not gonna waste $10,000 every year to take the same person to court.
No, you would pick out a different person. We have quite a collection.
Well, it doesn't matter, if they see that if that person that you take next year sees that, well, that didn't do anything there, so whatever. Right,
Well, then,
you just wasted money.
Then why do you have ordinances or anything else? If you're not gonna enforce them, you gotta do something.
Yeah, but if you take it to court and you're wasting $10,000 and you don't get what your ordinance says, what good is that gonna do?
Well, the whole idea of taking the court is putting teeth into it, and we'd have legal recourse to.
Well, that's only if it actually, that's why we did that one, to see if it actually put teeth into it, if we actually got somewhere.
We haven't got nothing yet.
Well, it's unfortunate we don't have a code enforcement guy to
Well, we
take.
ran into the COVID issue. We
We're
were
into
doing quite
COVID, and we
good.
lost our
And
code
then
enforcement.
now
Yeah.
no code officer with a certification, they have to be certified to take it to court, which means we have to talk somebody else into it, which we did talk Al Tempester into. He's a code officer for 6 towns and does an excellent job. I mean, he's amazing, but he injured himself quite severely, and so he has not been able to come back more than 1 day here.
So this legal amount of 10,000, that is just for this court action against violators?
That was estimated of what it was probably gonna cost to take this violator to court.
Right, but that's just for the court actions, right? Is that what this $10,000 is?
It was just for court actions, putting everything together, reviewing, helping the code officer with what they needed to do.
Such as what Pete was talking about,
To the
the
end.
situation, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, one more thing I wanna say, and to add to your point about seeing how this works, maybe that'll scare the others into
Well, that
compliance.
was-
I don't know, I mean, that's a nice thought.
That was
I
the
don't-
thought, if we actually got somewhere, then it would be easier for the next ones to say, hey, you see what happened here, this is gonna happen if you don't clean the place up.
Yeah,
And so that was the line of thought, we didn't wanna throw a bunch of money at it, cause like Matt had been in another town situation where they had thrown a bunch of money at it, and it got nowhere, they ended up taking the same person to court almost every year.
Worked out well for Matt because the town kept hiring him to haul all the stuff away.
Knew about it.
But he said, from a town perspective, it's not the best way to handle it.
This is
But
town-
it's different situations too, whether you have like a hoarder type situation or whether you have like an actual building with an absentee owner that is just not taken care of.
yeah, and that's why we have to be smart on what to spend the
Right,
money
you have to
on.
really pick
More
and
bang for the
choose
buck,
what
you know.
you're gonna be doing.
Does the town have options to put, we'll say, penalty fees on not fixing your place up?
Yep.
And then just, when the fees compile up enough, you put a lien on the place?
Yes and no. The first part is that we can assess the fees, but we can't collect them. The court has to authorize the collection of the fees. So let's say we say it's $150 a day fine, and it ends up being a fine of $2,000. When we go to court, we say we want an award of $2,000 for the fines, all our legal fees, and we want this place cleaned out by X date, and we come to the agreement. The court can then issue that, but that doesn't mean the person's gonna pay it up, because often they don't. You have to go back again to get the monies, and eventually it gets to a point where I think a couple of towns down, Fairfield, Hollowell got so perturbed over like massive garbage and collections of junk beyond what anyone can imagine. It was horrible. And they asked the person to be put in jail, which didn't happen, but they did get an agreement and some of it cleaned up with these habitual ones. So we can't put a lien on their property for any of what they're doing, and we can't collect the fees unless they voluntarily pay us, which they won't do. The court has to issue the judgment.
Liens only if taxes aren't paid.
Correct.
Jason, you got a question?
It sounded like when Pete Biggie was here and he was talking about dangerous buildings versus just buildings that are kind of out of compliance with our ordinances. It sounded like those were two different things. So say the one on Lancey Street and the one over on Washington Street, those are dangerous buildings. So is that a different avenue that you can go altogether and putting a little more money in this? Can treat those two specifically, which is different than the one on, say, Somerset Ave?
So, because this was stuck, and Steve was leaving, I had him sign, I wrote up on dangerous building letters on several of these. And so, you can use the dangerous building law to hold a public hearing, call the people in and make a declaration. The only issue after that is you have to follow through on the declaration. You order them to take their building down, for example, and then they don't do it. You have to go to court to get that issued, so that then the town can go in and do it.
Right.
And then it's try to assess it to them.
Right, so if, say we put, 30 grand in there, those are two buildings, easily falls under that dangerous building situation, I would assume, just based on,
The Washington.
just looking at, there's a tree growing out of the middle of the house. There's nothing inside of one of them. There's literally nothing
No,
inside,
I
it's just a shell of a
Yeah,
building.
I understand what you're saying. The
So
Washington Street.
those
is
two, you could
definitely-
easily go that route, so if we put a little more dollar amount here, we could take care of two houses that are a severe eyesore for the town.
We're probably gonna have, if we're going to do this right, we're probably gonna have to put some demo money in, someplace to take care of this. Public Works can do some of this.
Right.
But we're gonna have fees from, the materials that we haul away.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if some residents would chip in some money for the fees that the town's gonna encumber, so.
There's gonna be cost to it, but as Peter mentioned, I mean, the public perception needs to change.
Right.
Oh,
And I understand
totally
Pete's
agreeable.
point, Pete's point with the guy going to court, that's one thing.
Yeah.
That's not a dangerous building.
Yes,
really.
it's six of one kind, half a dozen other. His sixth kind, which I agree with, is that we go to court and we go through the process, like gentlemen standing each other, slapping each other in the face without a glove and challenging them to a duel. Yours is on the other side. Still get to the point that we need to, but it's a different route, and it may even cost more money, be more liability, because if they don't tear it down, then the town will be liable to, or obliged to tear it down. So, it's what route do we want to take? And I guess the bottom line is, do we want to put more money into it, or keep it there and figure out which one we want to do as kind of a test run? Because we have, I don't recall ever doing this on my council. You've been, what, 24, 25? Every time you say you add a year, you're 26, 27 now.
90, yeah, I know there's trees out there that have been here less time than I have, I get that. Very, very seldom does that ever happen, I can't remember it happening.
Yeah. But, I mean, we talk about it, but I think we need to fish a cut bait.
So the problem I have with that though is if by throwing more money, we're not getting anywhere because they still haven't got the code enforcement to be able to.
Exactly, right, but that's when we have all our arrows in the quiver, then we stop and think, okay, which one are we gonna get the most bang for the buck for? I mean, and that's certainly
Well,
not
that's why
true.
we-
I actually had completely forgot about that.
Well, that's why we had picked the one on Main Street to try, because that was a
Yeah,
bigger
right.
bang for our
But
buck.
But when you take these people to court, though, they're still paying legal fees on their aspect. So even if you took them to court every year, after a while, they're gonna get tired of paying their fee.
And they'll just
So
leave.
they award
Well,
us our legal fees
Then
if we
they'll
go
give
court
up,
and we win?
fix the
They
building,
will,
they'll give
but
it
whether
to
we
us.
get them or not is another story. But yes, you can be awarded your legal fees.
Awarded your
If it's proven we're correct, and, I mean, we
So
wouldn't
the
take anything
question
to
we
court. if we're
have
incorrect.
is, do we increase this or not? It sounds like that's the sticking point on this particular budget. Do you want to increase it? Do you not want to increase it? Do you want to change this line item to be code enforcement, legal, and
Dangerous building.
With lawyers' fees at $350
how
an
else do you
hour,
want to phrase it?
you ain't gonna
know?
go far with 10,000.
Well,
Well, that was the
attorney-
estimated, what they thought it was gonna cost them.
The code
Yeah.
officer acts as our representative in court. The attorney would be reviewing the letters and making sure everything's done, but it's the actual code officer that goes to court and represents the town though, right?
Because we're doing it as a 80B appeal, then the CEO goes to court, who's certified to do this, and then you save a lot of money and they testify at the same time. That's the way to do it. I'm not even sure how the attorney would take it to court or even want to do them, because the CEOs always take them. I'll do a little checking on that. I would think that would drive up the cost significantly.
But I mean, there's-
And they don't even wanna do it.
Right, there's filing fees with the court and all those kind of things, so that's kind of, and then all the certified letters you have to send out and service, if you're serving letters, the sheriff's office fees and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so there's other legal fees involved in doing something like that, aside from the actual taking them to court. So we might be able to do more than one, but the numbers that were come up with when this first arose was $30,000, and we might be able to do 2, maybe 3. It was cut down over time because the budget had ballooned to 5, and then now back to 10. So this is kind of where we're at. This was one of the places that, because the budget was tight, we needed to do something. It lost money out of this particular line item. So we can increase it, but my guess is when the rubber meets the road later on, we look at the big number at the end of the day, this will be one of the things that gets cut again. So do we want to just leave it
But
where
we
it is?
never used it though.
How much did we spend,
We've used it.
how much did we spend on that Somerset Avenue place? How much did we spend on
I
that?
don't know, how much is,
How much of the 10 did we spend?
That has been looked at 3 times, let me think about this.
We say save a couple grand.
Yeah, a little bit under $2,000.
Okay.
right,
All
You
right.
you could increase that to 30 and then if we have to cut it back, cut it back. I mean, you know.
So my question would be, do we have code enforcement officers? So like when you need a town manager, there's right, there's people that can fill in. Is there somebody that can fill in for the code enforcement officer?
Well,
that can-
that's what we're trying to get Al Tempestor back. There's a severe shortage of code enforcement officers, and we got no certified code officers that
'Cause I can-
applied.
I could say I'm pretty disappointed because we made that a point that we wanted to get that so we could see where that would go, so we could pursue the others.
so Kennebec Valley Council of Governments was working on having like a pool at one point. Are they still pursuing that?
Yeah, they went through like 6 executive directors, so that got dropped, but now we have a reliable one after all this time. So, now that's a big project coming back, that they would hire a certified code officer that the towns could share, which would be very helpful there.
So that-
Just for my clarification, on the dangerous building, do you still have to take them to court? Or is that, it sounded like
We
it was
would
a
still
separate-
end up having to go to court, yes. It's just a different type,
Because the court would issue the actual order
to be
tear
able
it
to
down.
go in and take it
Tear it
down,
down.
yeah.
It just seems like an easy, you need a certified.
I'm gonna have to leave in
code
about
enforcement for that?
5 minutes, just to let you know, because I gotta go to work tonight, unfortunately. I don't wanna get in the weeds on this.
We're
but
already.
If you haven't, I know. But if you
We're
haven't-
so far in the weeds, we can't
If
even see out of them.
if you have a condemned building, if they condemn a building, okay, and I mean, I got a house right on my street ought to be condemned. There's absolutely no question in my mind. Probably mine ought to be, for all I know, but I know that one ought to be. And, the problem is, and yes, you could use the town, you could use, for demolition, you could use Public Works to do some of that stuff. But you guys wanna remember, a lot of these buildings are right full of asbestos, and they're right full of dangerous stuff, and you have to have,
Lead paint.
you have to have permitting, and you have to have special people and gowns to do that. And I mean, I think it's a good idea to use the town to demo some of that stuff, but if it should ever get to that point, we wanna be very careful, and I know Donnie would be anyway, but you gotta be very careful about that, because you could spend 20 grand just clearing, asbestos out of the building. And you don't want your people exposed and not licensed to be exposed and all that stuff, so just food for thought, folks, when we go if we tear a building down, we gotta have our I's dotted, our T's crossed, everybody's gotta be on the same page, so they don't get in a mess, and that's all I can say.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and we do know that, because we've talked about, different areas we've gone into and what we need for clothing and stuff, and we didn't do it, but we knew what we needed to do.
So bottom line, are we gonna increase this, leave it alone, you wanna let it lie, see where it falls out? We can always, if we get to the end, we can always say, yeah, let's put some more funds in that too, it can go either way, so where do you wanna go with this?
Wanna go up 5, and then if we have to, we'll cut it back.
I hear 5.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Do 5?
So
Make it
15,000.
15?
15.
Alright,
It's probably not gonna be enough, but that's.
We'll go with that.
We'll stop
I'm good with that. Because
It's
I think-
it's a good start, it's never been started.
Well, I think we really need to see that to fruition so we can see
Exactly.
what.
I mean, if we
what's-
have it, as soon as we get a CEO that we can use, I think we go for it. But I think we'll have to have a discussion which one we're gonna get more bang for the buck based on the recommendation of the CEO.
Can we,
I prefer that one on Washington Street because that's had
Oh, yeah.
illegal activity and police there numerous times.
Okay.
So,
All
but
right,
anyway,
folks, all right, folks, I hate to break up the
Thank
party
you,
and leave
Sam.
all this fun, but somebody's gonna make the donuts in my house,
You're
so,
gonna
Thank you,
miss airport, but have a good night. Be careful going to work.
thank you.
All right, we're good to move on to, so we're gonna amend that to 15.
15.
See where that ends
My
up.
father said
End
there'd
of
be days
things.
like this.
Communications is the next page. We're skipping over that. That's part of police. We're gonna go to airport.
What would that bring our percentage to, way up?
Well, we're already up 14%.
Airport,
It's gonna be up another, if we're going up another
divided by
5,
16%, probably 50,000.
probably another 10. It's gonna be up almost another 10% over.
All right.
58, we're adding 5, so.
I think we'll gain a ton by public perception, if and when we do go through,
Well, but
when we go
If
through,
we can get it to go through,
when we go.
that's why we decided to try
I
and
know.
go that
I
route.
know.
This
Can we
goes
say,
on.
Tim's been 24 years, I don't remember ever being done,
Yeah.
but we talk about it every year.
well, to Heather's point, can we get a code enforcement officer from the, like the state to help us get that through? legal?
Not from the state, we have to talk somebody into it from another town.
That's what, okay.
That's what we gotta do.
I think reaching out would be a good thing.
Yeah, we have, but we're gonna continue doing it.
Right,
If Al could do it, we'd be all set, he's gone to court before,
right.
but I'm beginning to think that's not gonna be workable.
Has anybody approached that Thibodeau in Heartland?
I don't think he's certified,
Oh, he's not?
I
Okay,
don't think so.
okay, thank you.
So did you have that percentage, Kathy?
The adding machine
I'm
is
looking
dead, so.
at 23.8%. Because it was at 50,964 and it's gonna go up to 63,114.
Right.
Sound about right?
Yep, exactly. And the 5 to
As
58.
approximated by 9 o'clock right now. Last time people-
I'll put that in my notes. We do.
We're gonna go to airport.
All right, the airport is 0% increase,
Where is the airport?
and airport is on page
32.
32.
32.
32.
Yep. Yeah, we
Yeah.
skip a bunch.
Airport, you said is an increase of what?
0%.
Oh, that's nice.
So I left this the same with the understanding we would be exploring the ARPA grant that we got to see what we can do here. Can we legally lower this and then spend the money from the ARPA? So that's another question that we have. Or do we simply get reimbursed and then use the monies that go back into this budget for the crack ceiling again? So that's something that we're looking at right now. So I left the budget as is, as a proper budget.
So should we say we're gonna review this later?
Well, depends on when I get the answer from the federal government. So I would say this is the budget right now,
Until we hear differently?
until we hear different.
Okay.
So, you had mentioned crack sealing, and that's just what I was gonna ask about. Wasn't that handled from another grant?
It was handled from another grant, yes.
Okay,
By using the reserve account, and then we're gonna try to get some from even another grant, but
right, but you were talking as, trying to hear something back from the government, you would reference crack sealing. Why was that part of that?
okay, there's different ways to pay for the crack ceiling, we need to do it each
No,
year.
no, I understand that, I understand that, I just asked, the crack ceiling is 0 on here, which is 0 because it's being paid for by another grant. That's why it's not in here.
For 2021, yes. Yeah, so in 2021, we approved crack ceiling, so we're gonna do crack ceiling. So.
For crack ceiling for 2021, so there's no crack ceiling for 2022. That grant wasn't for 2022?
Correct. Yeah, it may be that Caleb will tell us that another area needs crack sealing for 2022, but it's just something I just threw out that could come up. But at this point, we need to leave the budget as is, because let's say we get another grant and we get some of these items reimbursed, we don't know when we're gonna get the money.
So you were using crack sealing as
It's just
an example
Just
that
an example.
he may come back.
Yeah.
Well, why would he come back this late in the game and say we need crack sealing?
Well, in
Don't we get this from him for the budget for next year?
Okay, in 2022, the cracks can come very quickly. There could be other areas that need to be crack sealed. It just could happen. It was just an example.
Okay. No, I understand that, but if he doesn't know what's going on down there now and he doesn't prepare for 2022, and never mind, it's just my own opinion. Let's move on.
So we'll come back if we get more information back from the ARPA.
Yeah, if we find out that we can, some of these items, we could reduce this budget, they may say, no, you're getting reimbursed, so we'd have to leave the budget.
So-
as is.
Will we know when that would happen?
It depends on when we can get an answer. It took 3 months to get the other answer, so it may not
Answer
be in time.
from where?
The federal.
Federal government,
Okay.
yeah. And you have to get it in writing, because if you don't do it right, you could get in trouble.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Pete, did you
A lot
have
of
a
trouble.
question?
Well,
Yes.
so what happened with the airport committee and the fees and the leases and?
Yeah, I reminded them that we need that information. They actually, in their mind, think that the fees shouldn't be as high as they are now, for the leases, so, that's sort of how it got left. But they need to give their proposal to us. It won't affect this, it would
Because I
affect on the revenue side.
I sat in on the Zoom meeting that they
Yeah.
had, and I thought that it'd been all agreed upon what those prices were gonna be set at per square footage.
Their comments at the end is that they didn't think that they should be as high because we were bringing in the tax money.
Well, I disagree because
I know.
there's a lot of other airports in the area that
Oh,
are
I
getting.
understand, yeah. I think that once, that new hangars that are up, once we assess those for taxes, we'll find that if we left everything the same, it will pay for the airport, but that doesn't mean that the
That doesn't help
hangar
with any of
fees
the
are
maintenance
correct.
or any of the upkeep.
Yeah, that doesn't mean the hangar fees are correct, and shouldn't be increased more.
Yeah, because that doesn't build anything for the future.
Correct.
Right, I mean, the hangar fee should reflect the market rate of what
Absolutely.
other airports are charging. And it
Right.
shouldn't be just, oh, we're paying for our budget today. You need to pay for your budget today and be able to invest in
Yeah, there needs to be some kind of
having a
maintenance
little kitty
fees
for
for
crack
that.
sealing
runway.
or replacing drainage ditches
There needs
or
to be some
something.
kind of, positive
So I had-
impact for the town.
I had a question about mowing at the airport. Is there a way that we can have all of the mowing that we bid out be bid out together? Would we get better pricing if it were like a bigger job?
If you remember, we had to split it up because we couldn't get anybody to give us pricing for an overall.
But we did get an airport, yeah, we did the airport mowing, we did split them up, but one company took them all.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so that did actually work out this time,
okay.
yeah.
So we'll just bid that out again?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I told them, they approached me about working something out for next year and signing a 3-year contract. I said, well, you know, if it was the same price, I don't need to bid it out and can go back to the council. And so I haven't heard anything else. It wouldn't be the same price. It would be the same price for 1 year,
There's
not
supposed to be
3.
a counselor on
So
there,
if they
but
did
right
come
now we
back
don't
and
have a
say, we'll
counselor
do it for the same
on
price,
there
that's a good
representing.
price, we'd come in and
That's a
approve
good
it.
An opening, yeah.
But it wouldn't be the same price for 3 years. It's not fair.
Well, even if they said,
1 year.
same price this year and then 3%, 5%, whatever, then
I
that-
wanted to, but I.
Yeah, they're thinking about it.
So, okay.
But they also
Any
have
other
those outstanding
questions
mowed down
about,
by.
Believe me, I had
the
any other questions about airport?
Okay.
Hot dog.
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick question, the airport committee, who was on it, do you know?
Mark Cochran,
No, they're townspeople, right?
their town's.
How did they get on that? Like
Oh, they
the-
were appointed by the town council.
Okay,
They volunteer.
okay, just like at the end of the year, we have all the positions filled,
Yes,
people expressing
exactly,
interest,
yes.
okay? Is there supposed to be a counselor on that?
Yes.
There
Is
is.
there?
He's informally on it.
Okay.
I never took that on.
He wouldn't do it officially, but he's been going to the meetings.
His fingers were crossed, I saw it.
It's a Zoom meeting.
He asked all the questions, so I asked him if he wanted to be on the committee, and then he froze and was like, oh, I don't know.
I just can't take it on anymore.
Maybe you won't see me.
I didn't realize what I was getting into when I signed up for this.
Any other questions about airport? All right, we're done with airport, except we're gonna look for the ARPA funding later on.
Yes.
Let's go
The
on.
lease,
What?
the leasing of the land, that's part of that
That's revenue budget
Revenue.
versus
revenue,
expense
separate thing?
budget.
And then that's when we'll talk about your concerns
I think
on
so.
some of the
Yeah,
lease.
fair market value.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's the
that part.
revenue part,
Right.
yeah.
And we'll talk about that then.
Well, really, we're gonna talk about that when we actually set the lease rates.
Right.
Because we haven't set the lease rates yet. We need to adjust them, and the committee needs to give us recommendations.
Yeah,
Right.
I've
Yeah,
reminded
because it's the
them
beginning of the year that they were working on that, and then all of a sudden it dropped off the radar.
Yeah, yeah, it really should be done soon, but.
Don't use that term talking about airplanes.
Okay.
No pun
Okay, so
intended.
let's go on to, we've got general assistance and unclassified expenditures left, and
What page is that?
All right, general assistance.
36.
It's a 0% increase on page 36.
All right.
did we use this full budget this year, Catherine?
No, and we've decided, we've left the budget as is, and half of
Yeah,
it,
that'll be the next
a
meeting.
half reimbursement is in the
Same
general
as last, I
assistance.
guess,
We just leave it the same.
Not budget.
Miscellaneous direct costs.
Those would be payments
What's that?
for direct general assistance, would be payments to families or individuals.
Yeah, for, Central Maine power bills, fuel, food, rent.
How's that been historically? Have we
Nice.
pushed the budget? Have we been well covered?
We've been well covered.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we've just left it the same.
I'd say we let it roll.
Municipal, any other questions about that one?
What was the, no, there's no increase.
No.
No.
Unclassified expenditures.
So these are the items listed on page 37. The increase is $62,323. That is the public fire protection. So these are the sort of the miscellaneous items that you have. There's a variety of items in here. The main purse match has gone up because everybody joining the town now is going for main purse for the retirement fund they didn't used to. The town report went down a little bit. Contingency, I left up higher just because of everything that's going on. This is for items that were not budgeted anywhere else for. We try not to spend it, but it's good to have it there. The educational incentive, we've got some newer people that would, younger that would like to take some training, so that's very good. That will help us. But the major item really is the public fire protection, which we knew was coming here.
So what is that? Is that not the fire department and the cost for that, or what is that?
It's for the hydrants. So under the PUC, Public Utilities Commission setup, the fire hydrants in the town are counted, and there's a certain fee that's attached to them, a percentage when you do your water rate increase. And this is what the fee has gone from 115,000 up to 84,147.
Who gets that?
The town raises it through the water rates and then pays off the bill that's created, so we're billing ourselves.
This was the increase that was in the municipal building.
We have to do
earlier,
this.
Right? This
Yep.
is the increase that we saw in the municipal budget, building
Yes.
budget earlier. It's the same amount.
It's an increase in the revenues for the water enterprise account. It is a decrease, we have to pay it out of the town budget and pay the water enterprise fund because the hydrants are being used by the town for water, for the fire. It's crazy, but it's a requirement.
Okay,
So this was discussed during our water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went
We
over.
knew it was gonna go up
Yeah,
because
this
we
was-
all the others.
The rate increase when we did it in June, I think it was July, when we finally got the rate increase done, we said, okay, we're gonna have, the rate increase start in August 1st, I think, for the general public, but knowing we didn't have this much in our budget in 2021, we said we're gonna make this part of the rate increase start January 1st of 2022. So this is the bill for the rest of 2021 that has to be paid off. So
Okay,
basically,
that's
we're
what
billing
it's not.
ourselves, we're taking the money out of the municipal budget and putting it into the water sewer department.
so
budget.
this was based on the increase of the water rates that, this council did before I came on board, that's why it's not familiar to me, okay?
Yeah.
Roger that.
What was that percentage, Catherine, for that one, on the municipal
The percentage for the
increase?
municipal unclassified is 30.9%, so 30.9.
So one thing I'd asked several meetings ago, for information on is the KV cog membership dues. I don't see where, it's like First Park, I don't see what we get out of that.
Well, if we.
So I'm preparing
Yeah.
a whole little package that I'll do a report on at the next meeting. I would have done it at the last meeting, but I was working night and day on the budget there. And usually when I work on the budget, we don't work on anything else.
So we will revisit,
Yes,
Okay.
you'll get a whole package on it. It has some good benefits. Even if you just wanted to go back to the fact that the town of Pittsfield's project had to be in the comprehensive economic strategy report, to add in the industrial park expansion when I arrived and tried to get the money for that. We were able to get $880,000 in federal funding because KV cog approved the project. So our dues have been paid for a long period of time here. Because we were able to get $880,000, because the KV cog agreed that the project should be funded by the federal government. So we were able to build up the industrial park expansion.
so without the KV cog say so, we wouldn't have been liable for that
Correct.
grant, so the KV cog had to say on a federal grant?
Yeah, they did, under the law, yeah.
A
To get the
state
money.
entity, municipal entity,
Yeah,
identified by the state, can control federal funds.
A lot of times you have to have a nonprofit partner to sign off on grant projects like that, especially when it's like an infrastructure type thing.
Okay, all right.
yeah, we had to do that. So, by joining KV cog, and I think that was the second year you had joined it, because you weren't in it all the years before I got here. We joined it and we were able to get that project through, and then eventually the money came through, so it definitely paid for itself. In addition to, being part of the household hazardous waste account, rather than going out and paying the $3,000 setup fee for, like Clean Harbors or a company to come, we're in the cog where some of it's subsidized and we pay a $500 setup fee. That bill is in the expense warrants. And then there's a variety of other cooperative purchases in which, because we're a member of the cooperative, we get a better rate on the salt, the culverts, and a bunch of other items. I'll have a whole write-up, but that's just the basic overview.
And if they put that program together with the code enforcement officer, then we'll.
That would be really good,
To be
yeah.
part of that as well, consider that. We also
So
did
are we
some
done for this
sidewalk
evening?
netting. I had a question about,
That was it last thing.
which one was it? Maybe I didn't.
You had the community services, if you wanted to do that one quickly.
The theater. That should be an easy one to do.
I moved the accounts around a bit on that, but I left it the same, basically.
Do you wanna?
Yeah, let's, knock a couple others out, why not?
38,
Why not? Cause
page
it's 9:30.
38, community and social services.
You don't need that beauty sleep, you
We're
just have to,
almost
hey,
done,
come
we're
on.
almost done.
Right. Hey, Jason, everyone needs a beauty sleep.
Yeah.
All right, community
Sorry,
services. Community services is on page 38, it's a 0% increase.
Did we do a donation to Egg Festival the last 2 years, even though they didn't have one? Are we holding that for when they have?
We did not, and
Grand reopen.
I can either hold it or let it go to surplus. I'd like to hold it this year, because next year they're going to come back, I hope, and it's gonna be very difficult to do.
What was that for? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Egg festival.
Okay.
I think we should hold it, and if, did we carry over the funds from last year for them?
We did not.
We didn't, I definitely think we should carry over this year.
Yeah, I think we're getting closer to where they would actually come back. So these are-
Historical Society,
These are the few items that, we do provide funding for.
does that help them with, heating the building and those types of things?
Yeah, it's the little expenses that take place, at the facility.
It's a community Christmas project, what do we do with that?
Yes, that's the food bank, that's their official
Oh, okay.
name.
Yep.
I know, you don't connect it up at all.
No, I didn't, but that works.
And the Snowmobile Club?
Yes, the Snowmobile Club is
That's
the
a
amount of the
pass-through.
re-registrations, percentage that the town gets as a pass-through to the club.
There's a note on the bottom of the sheet, you can see that.
Oh, yep, nope, the glories of, bifocals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I remember when I started here, this thing was filled.
Are we good with this one? Wanna make any adjustments?
Nope.
Good.
Good.
All right, debt service interest is on page 40. And this one comes in at a decrease of $37,661, or 8.8% decrease. This has all of your debt service at the current point, as well as debt service estimated for the fire pumper, if you go ahead with that. And that's a project that is being promoted by the Finance Committee, Fire Department, and all the rest of us, basically, because it is time to take care of the fire pumper. It also has a payment in here for a Public Works dump truck, a new one, because the 1986 is very old and needs to be replaced here. And there is a payment added for the Public Works 3/4 ton pickup truck with plow. And then there is a payment that went out, a big payment for paving that was paid off, a paving loan that the town had. So this is an account, if you wanted to add in other debt service, you can add it in and zero this out. But right now, with the projects that have been talked about at the Finance Committee level, which is the fire truck, the big truck for plowing and sanding, and then the 3/4 ton, these are the principal payments and the interest that you have.
So, do we know, when these are gonna be done? Do we know the end dates on these,
All
payments?
right, that is something I did originally have in there, and I can put all the end dates in here.
No, I was just curious if you knew offhand, because, of course, the first few there, 20 year, 2019, we figured that, but, stormwater diversion 2012, okay, that's zero.
That one's gone.
Water transport lease, fires at 3 replacement, I just curious, 'cause if we're looking at, a lot of this being cleared for next, year, we could consider that, extra amount of money for something else in anticipation, that's all, I'm just thinking ahead on that.
Yeah, so you will have the 37,661 will be available for next year.
How much?
37,
Yeah, when you add all of these up and you take out, there's a paving, a big paving payment that's no longer needed. The 2016 one got paid off, and it's just getting paid off now in the warrant. 2021, it's become all zeros across there. So you'll have 37,661 available to you.
But that's not in the,
no,
it's not in the budget.
Right, I subtracted it out, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So we would actually be increasing that budget again if we added that amount back in again.
Yeah, if you said you wanted another debt service for something, then they would increase it.
Right.
Yes, you'd have that available.
okay, so we don't have $37,000 available to us.
No.
It's just money we're not paying anymore.
Correct, yes.
Yep.
Okay. That's the way you termed it though, that's why I had to ask.
But if you wanted it to be the same budget, you do have, like, the town in the past would say if the debt service was gonna be paid off here, that would give us 40,000, so we'll go up and get another loan and do this, which is on the list. So then they'd zero it out.
We had the
Paying off your car, getting a new one,
police-
but not increasing your monthly
Well,
payment.
police
Getting a new car, I've never had
We
one.
pay for those out.
Honest to God, in my whole life.
Any other questions about the debt service
It's
account?
because their lifespan isn't very long.
We call it a night?
You
We
wanna
knock
whip-
one more out real quick.
You wanna whip out the
We
theater?
got 5 more minutes.
Theater.
I don't think we should.
Yeah, the theater.
Yeah?
Do the theater.
What page is the theater on?
The theater is on page 35.
35.
There you go.
So for the theater, it has a decrease of $33 coming in at $8,364. It's basically a 0% difference. And so I went through the amounts that we're using for the heating is more than anticipated, the electricity was less.
So snow removal, is that from the roof?
That would be from the roof, and so far we were fortunate last year and did not have to do anything. The roof has been checked over, that was a question the finance committee had, we checked it over previously, we've gone up again, and the public works employees have not seen any issues with the roof, so it doesn't need to be worked on.
Any movement from the agents?
The agents have shown the facility, but, no offers.
So why do we still have a water and sewer bill for a building that's, is that just for circulating the boiler?
Because if it's on, there's still a bill.
So we have like a monthly service fee that the town's paying to the town? Monthly account.
Anyone that has their bill on still gets a minimum bill.
Yeah.
We have a commercial structure.
Automatic middle bid.
Any other questions about the theater budget? Okay, now we'll go with forward as forward. So we knocked out a couple extra ones, and we are now at 9:30.
Remember how good this moment feels right now when we get into the next meeting, and the next meeting when it starts getting sticky.
You guys gonna say, we haven't hit the argument yet.
That's right,
See,
that's
we
right.
did these ones
Savor
first.
this moment right now.
We did these ones first to get your courage up here.
So we're
Increased
not in
morale.
an official meeting, it's just a budget workshop, but I feel like we should still have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
I wanna stay.
Same time, same place, what, next week? No, not next week, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, right. How do they say it was real, it was
At
fun?
this point now, we want to do this now?
Oh yeah, why not? Why not? I'm here. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? Let's do it.